Chapter 1896. The Call of the Door. 1. The reason why the demon looked for Zhou Kun was entirely because of Zhou Kun's previous challenge to him. However, after Zhou Kun saw the demon, he was not happy at all. He trembled and looked at the demon with a vigilant look. He asked in a trembling voice, what are you doing? At this moment, he had long forgotten the challenge he had raised to the monster. Didn't you challenge me? If I lose to you, you'll have to leave Shui. I don't think we have anything important to do right now, so why don't we fight now? The demon said indifferently. No one could tell his emotions from his expression. Upon hearing that, Zhou Kun trembled even more violently. He was only a god-tier master. How would he dare to fight with the God King? Moreover, the demonic man's aura seemed to be even stronger than Yu Chun and Meng Bao's. If he really fought with them, wouldn't that be courting death? At this moment, he was a little regretful. Why didn't he ask her fiancé's strength clearly before he wanted to challenge him? Great, now it's too late to stop. AI, beauty is harmful. And looking at this man's posture, if she didn't fight with him, it seemed that he wouldn't let it go. What was he supposed to do? Zhou Kun felt extremely conflicted. With Meng Bao around, he no longer had much hope that he could be together with Lung Ruoxue. After all, Meng Bao had leashed him. Furthermore, she had been following him closely all day, causing him to not even dare to take a second look at Lung Ruoxue. Otherwise, if he was discovered by Leopard Meng, he would suffer tonight. Seeing Zhou Kun's dilemma, the demon urged him indifferently. Come quickly. After the battle, Shui Heir's ownership will be even clearer. When the evildoer said that, he deliberately emphasized the word belonging. Upon hearing that, Zhou Kun's heart trembled for no reason. He could tell that this man was not to be trifled with, and it seemed that he could not afford to offend him. Don't waste time. I still have to accompany Shui after this fight. The demon couldn't help but feel a little impatient when he saw that Zhou Kun still had no reaction. This man is really not a man. Why didn't he hesitate when he challenged me back then? Now that he had really come to accept the challenge, he was actually hesitating. This was preposterous. Upon seeing Zhou Kun's expression, the demon was even more determined to beat Zhou Kun up in one go, lest he had any ideas about Shui. In fact, when he first heard about this matter, he had intended to make Zhou Kun suffer a fate worse than death. He actually dared to have designs on his woman. Wasn't he courting death? However, seeing that he had now become a certain woman's exclusive property, he changed his mind and decided to let Zhou Kun live well and for a long time. As for Zhou Kun's enemies, he did not mind having a talk with them on Zhou Kun's behalf if there was a chance. Zhou Kun wanted to refuse, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. He could only look at the devilish man in front of him while trembling. Oh, he's so useless. But could he be blamed for this? The pressure this man gave him was like a mountain, and he couldn't bear it. At this moment, Meng Bao, who had been eavesdropping outside, rushed in. He'll fight little Kunkin's challenge for him. Meng Bao suppressed the anger in his heart and growled in a low voice. Then, he glared at Zhou Kun fiercely. Damn it. No wonder he didn't allow me to be present just now. It turns out that he's up to this? Although Meng Bao was angry, Zhou Kun was her subordinate. Therefore, she still had to support Zhou Kun at critical moments. Besides, Zhou Kun was not in a good condition to fight. Leopard. Upon hearing Meng Bao's words, Zhou Kun was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. He thought to himself, Bao Bao is still the best. However, Meng Bao did not give him a good look. You? No, he was the one who challenged me. The demon refused. He accepted the challenge not only to respond to Zhou Kun's challenge, but more importantly, to teach Zhou Kun a good lesson. If Meng Bao took action on Zhou Kun's behalf, there would be no point in accepting the challenge. Therefore, how could he possibly accept it? Why not? Little Kunkin is my man. I can help him. Meng Bao said in dissatisfaction. Her intuition told her that this demonic man looked down on her, so he didn't want to fight her. He's a man. If news of him letting a woman stand up for him were spread, would he still think of having a foothold in the divine realm in the future? The demon said in a light tone. But he he can't fight in his current condition. Meng Bao stammered. She knew that Zhou Kun's reputation would be affected if she took action. However, Zhou Kun was pregnant with her baby. How could she allow Zhou Kun to fight with someone at this time? What if she accidentally hurt her child? Why can't I? The demon asked in confusion. His handsome face was filled with confusion. He's pregnant, so he can't use force. I hope young Master Yi can understand. Meng Bao said honestly. Oh, so it's like this. The demon nodded his head and suppressed his laughter. I can understand that he can't use force because he's pregnant, but how do I deal with the challenge he issued to me? Could it be that she had to wait for him to give birth to the child? I can't wait that long. The demon seemed to be in a difficult position, his handsome face full of conflict. Didn't I say that he'll fight in his place? Meng Bao reminded. I've also said that I refuse. The demon said, leaving no room for discussion. Then you'll have to wait for him to give birth to my child before you come and find him. Meng Bao said unhappily, but he had made up his mind to let Zhou Kun give birth one after another, in case this evil man really came to settle scores with Zhou Kun. She did not want to give this demon a chance to hurt her little Kun. All right then. Seeing this, the demon could only agree. Then, he left with a face full of regret. As soon as the demon left, Zhou Kun immediately took the initiative to hug Meng Bao, feeling extremely touched. He said gratefully, Leopard, it's all thanks to you. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't even know how I died today. He still had lingering fear in his heart. You just found out? They'll let you challenge anyone you want. I'm asking you to randomly issue a challenge to others. Meng Bao pinched Zhou Kun's strong body with all his might, feeling resentful that Zhou Kun had failed to live up to his expectations. Zhou Kun was in so much pain that he kept squeaking, Woo-woo. Leopard, I know I was wrong. Stop pinching me. It hurts. Zhou Kun begged for mercy as he dodged. The wretched woman was ruthless, and she only pinched a little bit of his flesh. It was so painful that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. You'll die from the pain. Although she knew that little Kunkin had been coveting Lung Ruoxua with her around, little Kunkin's wishful thinking would naturally fail. However, when she saw her fiancé looking for her, she could not help but feel sour inside. Leopard, I'm dying from the pain. Are you willing to do that? Zhou Kun pretended to be weak because he knew very well that Meng Bao was his backer now. Without Meng Bao's protection, he would be in a very miserable state. Hence, no matter what his purpose was, he had to coax this woman at this moment. Chapter 1897. The Call of the Door 2. What's there to be reluctant about? It's not easy to find a two-legged toad, but there are many two-legged men. Meng Bao said disapprovingly. If it were in the past, she would never have said such words. However, ever since she had Zhou Kun by her side, her self-confidence had skyrocketed, and she seemed to have seen the blueprint of her future harem. Therefore, she was a little smug. Leopard, I'm sad. Upon hearing that, Zhou Kun looked hurt and glared at Meng Bao resentfully. He then lowered his head and looked at the ground. Why are you hurting my ass? You had so many women in the past. I should be the one feeling sad. Meng Bao roared furiously. As long as she thought of this, the anger in her heart would be uncontrollable. You said it yourself, it was in the past. Zhou Kun reminded him carefully. All right, since it's a matter of the past, it'll be magnanimous and not haggle over it with you. However, if you dare to cheat behind my back in the future, it'll make you die an ugly death. I mean what I say. Meng Bao warned him seriously. Bao, I wouldn't dare. I only need you. Upon hearing that, Zhou Kun hurriedly tried to please her. That's more like it. By the way, you can't have any more ideas about that one girl. Let me tell you, her fiancé is not to be trifled with, so you'd better not provoke him. If you see him in the future, you must stay as far away from him as possible. Otherwise, just based on the letter of challenge you sent him, he has a reason to kill you. Meng Bao reminded. Then what should we do? Zhou Kun was really afraid. What else can we do? Cool mix. Although she had already decided that she would have the opportunity to plead with Lung Ruoxua, she would not tell Zhou Kun about it, in case he did it again in the future. How about if something happens to me because of this, you must raise our child well and tell him not to make the mistakes his father once made. Zhou Kun thought about it and actually said his last words. You can tell this to our child yourself. I won't say it. Meng Bao was exasperated. This guy only has this much courage. After saying that, Meng Bao turned around and left in a huff, leaving Zhou Kun, who was secretly struggling. After the demon left Zhou Kun's place, he headed straight to Lung Ruoxu's tent. At this moment, Lung Ruoxu was lying comfortably in the tent, enjoying the not-so-beautiful scenery outside. When she saw the demon walking in with a smirk on his face, she raised her brows and could not help but ask, "Why? Did you teach Zhou Kun a lesson?" She knew that the evil demon had gone to settle the score with Zhou Kun. However, she did not think that the evil demon would be able to achieve his goal. After all, with Meng Bao around and Zhou Kun being pregnant, there was a high chance that the matter would be foiled. "No, I didn't teach. The guy was too useless. He couldn't even speak when he saw me." In the end, it was that leopard who came forward and said that he would fight on his behalf. However, I didn't agree. The demon explained. The person he was looking for was Zhou Kun, and the person he wanted to teach a lesson to was Zhou Kun. Therefore, he naturally would not agree to Meng Zhan fighting in place of Zhou Kun. Meng Bao loves Zhou Kun very much. "I'm afraid you won't be able to fight him," Lung Ruoxu said. "It doesn't matter. It's quite interesting to see that guy being so obedient to a woman." He even felt that Zhou Kun's current life would definitely be better than him teaching Zhou Kun a lesson to vent his hatred. Which man could tolerate the taboo of becoming a woman? Unfortunately, Zhou Kun could not resist at all. "Ha ha, that's right. After seeing the way they get along, you might sympathize with Zhou Kun." Lung Ruoxu's smile was like a little fox, extremely adorable. When the demon saw this, he could not help but pull Lung Ruoxu into his arms and hug her tightly. Oh, Shui'er's body was so fragrant, so soft, and so comfortable to hold. The demon took a deep breath and thought to himself with a satisfied expression. Just then, a deafening sound came from outside the tent. "Is little sister Ling here? I have something to tell you." There was no need to ask to know that the one who spoke was Ji Min, who had stopped talking for a few days. When the demon and Lung Ruoxu heard this voice, they looked at each other. Then, Lung Ruoxu's mind changed, and she sent the demon into the bracelet. "I'm here, come in." She replied, "Younger sister Lung, why do you lock yourself in the tent all day and not go out to chat with us?" "I'm so bored," Ji Min asked with a face full of concern. At the same time, her pair of beautiful eyes kept sizing up the surroundings of Lung Ruoxu's tent, as if she was looking for something. However, after a round of searching, she finally confirmed that Lung Ruoxu was the only one in the tent. How was that possible? She clearly saw Brother Yi come in, but why was he not there now? One must know that she had not really wanted to chat with Lung Ruoxu when she came to look for her. Her main purpose was definitely to have ulterior motives. However, her purpose for coming here was not here at all. For a moment, she did not know what to do. If she were to chat with Lung Ruoxu, she really didn't think there was anything to talk about with her. If the conversation between the two of them continued to revolve around Yi Chun, she was afraid that her efforts over the past few days would be in vain. After all, she had acted as if she did not care about Yi Chun these few days. It was also because of this that her relationship with Lung Ruoxu had progressed so quickly. Even the way they addressed each other had become more intimate. Therefore, she really did not want to waste her efforts over the past few days. "I'm used to being alone," Lung Ruoxu said indifferently, but in her heart, she scoffed at Ji Min's motive. Every time this woman came to find her, she would first find out if the evildoer was here. If the evildoer was here, even if he ignored her, she would still be overjoyed. If the evildoer was not here, she would be as listless as she was now, with a face full of hidden bitterness. Lung Ruoxu could not understand this at all. Ji Min looked like a smart woman, but why did she become infatuated with a man? Seeing her behavior, Lung Ruoxu couldn't help but suspect that the Ji family's education of her had failed. After all, the young miss of a Zhongzhen family couldn't be so weak. Otherwise, how could she serve the family? A beauty trap was enough to capture the young lady that the family had carefully cultivated. Which family would dare to put such a clansman in an important position? Jimin shouldn't be unaware of these reasons, but Jimin still insisted on doing so. It seemed that she could only say that the charm of a demon was too great. By the way, why isn't Brother Yi accompanying you? I think I saw him come in here just now. After enduring it for a while, Jimin still couldn't help but ask. Yes, but he left before you came. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Brother Yi, why aren't you accompanying you? This place is so dangerous. Jimin said with a disapproving look, but she was thinking in her heart, if Brother Yi didn't accompany you, how would I have the chance to see him? How would she have the chance to perform well in front of him? Chapter 1898. The Call of the Door 3. Dangerous? We've been here for almost a month, and we've only seen a few people. How could there be danger? Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. However, she was thinking in her heart, where did the people who entered this place go? Could this place really be boundless? She had always been suspicious of this. Since it's a competition, it's impossible to be without danger. It looks calm now, but I can only say that the time isn't right. So, Brother Yi should be by your side every day, so that he can protect you well. Jimin said very seriously. Those who didn't know would think that she cared about Lung Ruoxue a lot when they heard her words. In fact, she was doing it for her own selfish reasons. Men have things they need to do. How can they guard a woman all day? Besides, we women shouldn't rely too much on men, or well lose ourselves. So, if you want to protect yourself, you have to become stronger. Only then can you guarantee that you won't be hurt. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. What you said makes sense. Jimin agreed with an embarrassed smile. Miss G, what's the matter? With a faint smile, Lung Ruoxue took the initiative to ask about the reason why Jimin had come to look for her. Or rather, it could be said that it was an excuse. I want to ask you when we're leaving this place. The gears in Jimin's head turned quickly. She thought for a while and said, actually, the main reason she came to look for Lung Ruoxue was to see Yechin. She said that she had something to do because she was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would refuse to see her. Otherwise, why would she come to look for Lung Ruoxue for no reason? We don't plan to leave this place. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Arg, don't tell me you guys want to stay here until the end of the competition? Jimin asked in surprise. How could this be? If she stayed here, how would she have the chance to see Yechin? After all, even if she came to look for Lung Ruoxue every day, she could not guarantee that she would be able to see her sweetheart every time. Why not? Lung Ruoxue laughed. But this is a competition. If we stay here, we won't have the chance to fight with others. Jimin reminded him anxiously. Even if I don't stay here, I'm afraid I won't have many chances to fight with others, right? Or do you want to have a fight with everyone here? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile that was not a smile. Actually, she could not understand it either. Wasn't this the elite competition? Why were there so few chances to fight? When she first entered this place, she was full of pride and passion. Now, she had been here for almost a month, and her initial enthusiasm had almost been worn out. At this time, she only wanted to leave this place as soon as the competition was over. She didn't want to stay in this damn place for another moment. I just feel that we shouldn't be stuck in one place. That way, we won't have more chances to see others. Jimin whispered. Before we came here, we've been in many places, but the people we've seen are only these people you see now. So, do you still think we should go somewhere else? Moreover, there were only a few days left until the end of the competition, so it was better to stay here. Of course, if you can't stay here any longer, you can go to other places to have a look. I won't stop you. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. In other words, she was saying that they would not leave this place. I was just making a suggestion. Since no one really wants to move, I will naturally obey the majority. Jimin quickly expressed her position. What a joke! How could she leave alone? Since that's the case, Miss G can live here in peace. To be honest, we won't be able to stay here for long. Lung Ruoxue lifted her eyelids and said indifferently. And Jimin nodded unwillingly. Miss G, Is there anything else? Lung Ruoxue shot a glance at Ji Min and continued to ask. It's gone, Ji Min said hatefully. She could tell that he was asking her to leave. However, she didn't want to leave this place so soon. She still had a glimmer of hope and wanted to see Yechin. Then I won't send you off. Seeing that Ji Min was acting dumb, Lung Ruoxue had no choice but to be direct. After she finished speaking, she immediately closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. At this moment, Baby, who had been lying in her arms, opened his beautiful purple eyes that were overflowing with light. He glanced at Ji Min, and a hint of ridicule flashed across his eyes. Seeing the reaction of the man and the beast, Ji Min was furious. That damned Lung Ruoxue, those detestable foxes, she felt a deep blow to her self-esteem. However, they'll have the chance to get back at them for their contempt, Ji Min thought to herself. Then, she left Lung Ruoxue's tent in a fit of anger. Cute master, that annoying woman has left. Seeing Ji Min leave, the baby cheered and almost danced. And Lung Ruoxue nodded and entered the bangle with the treasure. Compared to their jubilant mood, Ji Min's mood wasn't so good. After leaving Lung Ruoxue's tent, she went to look for Ji Yun. Before she even entered Ji Yun's tent, she could hear the sounds of laughter coming from inside. This could not help but make the anger in her heart grow even more. Damn it, she had suffered at Lung Ruoxue's hands, but these guys were actually talking and laughing. In fact, she was being unreasonable. How would she know what had happened between her and Lung Ruoxue? Could it be that because of Lung Ruoxue's cold treatment of her, no one could even smile? Ji Min walked into Ji Yun's tent, her heart filled with anger. After seeing Ji Min, the people in the tent stopped laughing. Ji Yun looked at her with an unkind expression and said with some displeasure, "What are you doing here? Can't I come?" When Ji Min heard this, she was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. Damn it, what kind of attitude was this? No matter what, she was still the young miss of the Ji family. And now they were treating her like an outsider. How could she, who had always been proud and arrogant, tolerate this? Didn't I tell you not to disturb me if there's nothing important? Ji Yun shot a glance at Ji Min and said coldly. From his sister's appearance, she must have been treated coldly by Ruoxue. Otherwise, she would not be so flustered and exasperated. I'm looking for you. Ji Min gritted her teeth, her heart filled with endless hatred for Ji Yun. This was her lousy little brother? To think that she loved him so much, but this damn brat always wanted to go against her. If there's something, say it. Ji Yun urged. All of you leave. I have something to discuss with Ji Yun. Ji Min glanced at the people in the tent and said to them. When Ji Tao and Ji Wu heard Ji Min's words, they were about to get up and leave, but they were stopped by Ji Yun. Sister, if you have something to say, just say it. They're not outsiders, so there's no need for them to leave. Ji Yun said, unhappily, while glaring at the two. He was angry at them for listening to Ji Min look at how calm Big Brother you was. He didn't take Ji Min's words seriously at all. Receiving Ji Yun's glare, Ji Tao and Ji Wu felt aggrieved. Could they not leave? Ji Min was the eldest miss of the Ji family, and her status in the Ji family was above theirs. If they didn't give Ji Min face and were later sued by Ji Min, the losses would outweigh the gains. When Ji Min heard Ji Yun's words, she was so angry that smoke seeped out of her 7 orifices. She fiercely glared at Ji Yun before turning around and leaving in a huff. Seeing Ji Min leave, Ji Yun laughed complacently. He knew that Ji Min's words would be shameful. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from outside the tent. Ji Tao and Ji Wu's expressions changed upon hearing this. It's Sister Min. The two of them asked worriedly. Don't worry about her. She'll be fine. Maybe she just wants to lure us out. Ji Yun disapproved, but Ji Tao was a little uneasy. However, before he could finish his sentence, he swallowed his words under Ji Yun's glare. Ji Yun's gaze just now was so frightening. At this moment, the earth suddenly trembled and the entire space trembled. Ji Yun and the others looked at each other and then rushed out of the tent without hesitation. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue, the demon, Lu Tao, Cui Zhu, Meng Bao, and Zhou Kuan, who felt that something was amiss, ran out of their tents. They gathered together when they saw Ji Yun and the others. What happened? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but ask. Her beautiful eyes were searching everywhere. Other than Ji Min, everyone was here. Didn't that mean that something had happened to Ji Min? However, just as she finished her sentence, and before the crowd could respond, the space in front of them started to distort. Following that, a few white lights flashed and enveloped Lung Ruoxue and the rest within. When the blinding light disappeared, Lung Ruoxue and the others opened their eyes. They realized that they were no longer in their campsite. Without realizing it, they had been transported to a strange and mysterious place. Where is this place? Everyone looked at each other in surprise. They were currently in a space filled with dense fog. This space seemed to be boundless, and it was much better than where they had been before. At the very least, there was no oppressive and depressing atmosphere here. Even the spiritual qi was unusually dense. Not only that, they felt extremely comfortable after only staying here for a while, as if they had returned to their mother's warm embrace. Just as everyone was still in a state of shock and disbelief, a door that was shimmering with white light appeared from the fog. The door was so tall that it reached the clouds. The door exuded a majestic aura. With a bang, the door opened to both sides. The aura that came from the door seemed to be calling Lung Ruoxue and the others, causing them to walk towards the door involuntarily. Chapter 1899, Dream Dust Space 1. Lung Ruoxue and the rest followed the feeling in their hearts and walked through the door. After passing through a wide passage, they arrived at a square. At this moment, the square was already filled with people. However, most of them looked very confused. It was obvious that they had not yet adapted to the sudden change. Not only were there god-level masters, but there were also divine lords, divine kings, and divine emperors. It should be said that the representatives of almost all the families who had come to participate in the competition were gathered here. Seeing these people, Lung Ruoxue's suspicion grew even deeper. What did he mean by gathering all of them together? However, she still maintained a calm and composed look on her face. At this moment, the Ning family's participants saw Lung Ruoxue and quickly went up to greet her. "Miss Lung, we finally get to see you." The one who spoke was an elder of the Ning family. He was about 40 years old, handsome, and had the strength of a divine emperor. The moment he saw Lung Ruoxue, his eyes seemed to be filled with tears. He was also the vice leader of the Ning family. When Lung Ruoxue saw how agitated this old man was, she could not help but feel a sense of exasperation. What was going on? Why did it seem like the emperor had found his organization when he saw her? Or did something happen that she didn't know about? Elder Yi, what happened? Lung Ruoxue asked with a suspicious look. No, it's just that I haven't seen Miss Lung for too long, and I really miss her, Elder Yi said, slightly embarrassed. His cheeks were even slightly red. When the demon heard his words, he glared and snorted coldly, dissatisfied. When Elder Tong saw the evildoer's reaction, he was so frightened that he shrunk his neck. He smiled bitterly and transmitted his voice to Lung Ruoxue. "Miss Lung, to be honest, this time's elite gathering seems to be different from the past. I don't know if this is a good or bad thing." "AI, what's different?" Lung Ruoxue was very curious. In the previous elite meetings, everyone should have already started fighting by now. However, we are still standing here. More importantly, we don't even know where we are. However, what is certain is that we can't start a war even if we want to. It seems that our strength has been restricted by someone, and no one can fight. Elder Chu explained helplessly. Previously, there were families who hated each other. When they saw each other, they were ready to attack. However, they realized that they could not use their divine skills at all. From that, they knew that they could not attack at this time. How did this happen? Lung Ruoxue asked in surprise. No wonder these people were all standing here with blank expressions. Now, she finally knew the reason. Furthermore, now that everyone is gathered together, if we were to really fight, I'm afraid. Elder Chu wanted to speak but stopped halfway. However, Lung Ruoxue understood what he meant. Now that the participants from the various groups were all gathered together, The number of casualties would be incalculable if they were to fight. This would also give those who wanted revenge the best chance. Hence, if they were to really fight, this battle would be extremely bloody. Elder Yi, now that things have come to this, there's no point in thinking about it. However, I believe that since someone has gathered all of us here, they definitely won't let us stand here stupidly. So, since we're already here, let's just take it one step at a time. When the time comes, everyone will adapt to the situation. Lung Roashua said, after some thought. And Elder Tong nodded his head slightly. After seeing Lung Roashua, his originally anxious heart actually calmed down. Furthermore, the family head had repeatedly reminded them to follow Lung Roashua's lead if they had the chance to see her after entering the special space. Hence, when he saw Lung Roashua, it was as if he had seen his backbone. Following that, Lung Roashua transmitted her voice to Evildoer, Ji Yun, and the others, briefly explaining the situation that Elder Yi had told her. After everyone understood, they stood at their original positions and waited for the situation to unfold. Miss! All of a sudden, Lung Roashua heard a familiar voice. She raised her head and saw Feng De, Lin Yuan, and the rest walking in their direction with large strides. However, who was the girl following behind them? The girl looked very young. She had a childish face and was full of youthfulness. Although she wasn't very beautiful, she gave people a feeling of vitality. Miss, we miss you so much. Just as Lung Roashua was making wild guesses, Feng De and the rest had already walked in front of her. I also missed you guys, Lung Roashua said with a faint smile. Feng De and the others seemed to be in good spirits, so they shouldn't have encountered any big trouble. You were their master? At this moment, a voice interrupted Lung Roashua, and Feng De Lung Roashua lifted her eyelids slightly and looked at the woman who spoke indifferently. Then, she gave Feng De a questioning look. Miss, ignore her. She's sick, Feng De quickly said in a bad mood. Looking at the woman who followed him like a shadow, Feng De felt very regretful in his heart. Why did I meddle in other people's business in the beginning? Now, he had provoked a big problem that he couldn't get rid of. You're the sick one. You actually dare to say that about me? Don't you know that I'm your future master? When the woman heard Feng De's words, she growled in anger. However, Feng De's reaction was to roll his eyes at her, which made the woman even more furious. When Lung Roashua heard the latter's words, she raised her eyebrows in disbelief. Then, she turned to Feng De and said, What do you mean by future master? She did not believe that Feng De was planning to betray her. Young miss, ignore her. Just treat her words as farts. Feng De said rudely, Your words are bullshit. The woman roared and jumped 3 times in anger. Do any of you want to explain to me what's going on? Lung Roashua felt a headache coming on when she saw Feng De and the woman fighting like cockfights. I want him. Just give him to me. When the woman heard Lung Roashua's words, she immediately went straight to the point. You want him? I'm sorry, but he already has a master. I can't make a decision for him. Hearing the woman's overbearing words, Lung Roashua was speechless. She couldn't help but guess in her heart. It's only been a few days since we last met. How did Feng De get involved with Tao Hua? This time, he was probably going to be out of luck because she could already feel the cold air coming from Green Peach's body. Feng De, you're on your own. Aren't you his master? Why couldn't she make a decision for him? State your price. I want him. The woman said stubbornly. Offer a price? I don't understand what you mean. Lung Roashua asked indifferently. Name a price and let me have him. You don't even understand this? The woman looked at Lung Roashua as if she was looking at an idiot. She thought to herself, why is this woman's comprehension ability so bad? To think that she was so pretty, but she was actually a fool. Chapter 1900. Dream Dust Space 2. It was fortunate that Lung Roashua did not know what this woman was thinking. Otherwise, she would definitely be depressed. How was she stupid? It was clearly this woman who didn't make things clear. Moreover, how could feelings be measured by money? He even wanted to buy her subordinates from her. Who did he think she was? She wasn't a human trafficker. I don't understand. My subordinate will not sell. Of course, if he is willing to follow you, I will not stop him. Lung Ruoxue said calmly. You said it. When the woman heard Lung Ruoxue's words, she said happily. Then, she turned to Fengde and said, You heard it. She doesn't care about you at all, and she's going to send you to me. Leave her quickly and follow me in the future. When the woman said this, her delicate face was full of pride. However, when Lung Ruoxue heard the woman's words, she could not help but widen her eyes. Did she hear it wrong? When did she say that she would give Fengde to her? A sneer sounded in everyone's ears. When the woman heard the laughter, she raised her head unhappily and looked at the person who laughed. What are you laughing at? What's so funny about that? The woman was furious because her intuition told her that this person was laughing at her. The person who laughed out loud was Ji-yun. He spoke with an innocent expression, Miss, although I don't know who you are, I don't think it's a good idea to force a deal. Right? Forced selling? What do you mean by that? The woman didn't understand Ji-yun's words. Ruoxue didn't say that she would give her subordinate to you. Why are you overthinking it? Ji-yun said honestly. Why not? Didn't she say so? If Fengde was willing to follow me, wouldn't she stop him? The woman replied matter-of-factly. Then, she glared at Lung Ruoxue and said fiercely, Are you going back on your word? I'm not going back on my word, but Fengde didn't say he wanted to follow you, did he? Lung Ruoxue was helpless. It seemed like there was a generation gap between them. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the woman immediately turned to look at Fengde and pressed on, Fengde, tell your previous master that he'll be following me from now on. I won't follow you. I told you. Fengde rolled his eyes and said speechlessly, There was something wrong with this woman's ability to understand. You, how could you lie to me? When the woman heard this, tears immediately welled up in her eyes, ready to flood the Golden Mountain at any moment. How did I lie to you? Don't spout nonsense. Fengde's eyes widened as he said in disbelief, Fuck. This woman was too good at spouting nonsense. Wasn't she clearly maligning him? Thinking of this, he looked uneasily at Green Peach's cold face. His heart was so nervous that it was like a little rabbit. He was jumping around. He was definitely more wronged than Do-e. You saved me, so you're mine. How can you abandon me? The moment the lady finished speaking, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had a strange look on their faces. It seemed like this was trouble caused by saving someone. I save people and save problems. Fengde said angrily, Fuck. This was infuriating. If he had known this would happen, he would have let this damned woman live and die on her own. Now, he had saved her, but he had gotten himself into trouble. What was this? Since you've saved me, shouldn't you be a good person to the end? The woman said in a low voice, A good person to the end? Does it mean that I have to follow you in the future? If that's the case, I'd rather be the bad guy. Fengde said unhappily. He had had enough of this woman. He really didn't know what this woman's brain was made of. How could she have such a strange idea? Or was it that whoever saved her would be unlucky? Fengde's words made the woman's tears start to well up in her eyes, but they did not fall. When she heard this, everyone understood and could not help but sigh in their hearts. You can't just save people randomly. Otherwise, if he saved someone like this and had to follow her in the future, he would be depressed. Fengde's matter rang an alarm bell for everyone. Lung Ruoxue's head started to hurt as she watched the woman sobbing in front of them. What was going on? She couldn't help but glare at Fengde. Then she said to the woman, Now that things are clear, you can give up, right? Why? Why did it turn out like this? Sob, in what way am I inferior to you? Why is he unwilling to follow me? I just want to find a guard who can protect me. Is that wrong? The woman said with an aggrieved expression, as if Fengde had done something wrong to her. Is this how you treat your savior? Hearing the woman's self-reproaching, Lu Tao couldn't bear it anymore and asked, Damn it, where did this top-grade item come from? He had saved her, yet she did not know how to be grateful. She even wanted him to be her guard for the rest of her life. What kind of logic was this? He didn't know her anything, so why should he be at her beck and call? What's wrong with me? The woman asked in confusion, a tear still dripping from the corner of her eye. Fengde saved you. It's fine if you don't know how to be grateful to him, and we don't care. But what right do you have to make him your guard? Who do you think you are? Lu Tao roared. I'm already repaying him by letting him be my guard. Don't you know that? The woman asked. What kind of repayment is this? Don't tell me you think it's an honor to be your guard. Lu Tao mocked. Of course. Being able to be my guard is enough to show that I think highly of him. You should know that not just anyone is qualified to be my guard. The woman's face was filled with pride. She truly felt that it was a great honor to be her guard. Hearing this woman's extremely narcissistic words, Lung Ruoxue and the others were completely speechless. It was rare to see a woman who could be narcissistic to this extent. Thank you for thinking so highly of me, but I don't need it, Fonda said, although he had said this more than once. You actually don't know what's good for you? The woman shouted angrily. I don't know what's good for me. I really don't think that being your guard is something worthy of my honor. Fonda said honestly. That's right. Who do you think you are? Lin Yuan chimed in. He had seen enough of the show, so he naturally had to speak up for his own people. You shut up. I know you're jealous of him because I don't like you. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's interruption, the woman immediately pointed her spear at Lin Yuan and roared. Thank you for not taking a fancy to me. Otherwise, I will be depressed to death. Lin Yuan snorted. You do know who I am? How dare you speak to me like this? When the woman saw that Lin Yuan didn't take her seriously at all, she became more and more angry from embarrassment. I don't care who you are. In short, Fonda saved you out of kindness, not to save himself from trouble. So, if you know how to repay our kindness, you better disappear from our sight. Otherwise, I don't mind handing you over to that person. Lin Yuan threatened with a smile that was not a smile. Chapter 1901, Dreamed of Space 3. When they met this woman, she was being attacked by a young man and his men. Later, they found out that the man was the woman's fiancé. Suddenly, a group of crows flew over their heads, and they felt that they had been too nosy, especially Fonda, who was extremely depressed, as if he had eaten a dead fly. What made him even more mad was that the woman actually pestered him and wanted him to be his guard. Hearing Lin Yuan's threat, the woman's face turned pale with fright. However, she still refused to admit defeat and said, You dare. If you dare to do that, I won't let you off. You could try and see if I dare to or not. When Lin Yuan said this, his eyes were looking in another direction, which was the direction of the woman's fiancé. As if their hearts were connected, the young man was also staring at them. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan's lips curled into a smirk. Although the two of them were engaged, their relationship seemed to be very unusual. If you dare to hand me over to him, I won't let you off. The woman was at a loss for words. Other than this sentence, she could not think of anything else to threaten Lin Yuan with. However, Lin Yuan did not care about her threat at all. Isn't that man your fiancé? Isn't it only right and proper for him to protect you? Lin Yuan said with a smile. Who needs his protection? Even if I die, I don't need his protection. The woman shouted in excitement. TSK, TSK. Hearing this, your fiancé will be so sad. Lin Yuan said with a look of sympathy. As expected, the man's expression changed. You shut up. The woman felt the cold wind behind her and couldn't help but shout. What do you think I like to talk to you? Lin Yuan said in an infuriating manner. After he finished speaking, he really did not say anything else. The woman glared at him with her watery eyes, unable to vent her anger. Her face turned from red to white, and from white to red again. Looking at the tense atmosphere, Lung Ruoxue sighed softly and said, Miss, although I don't know what's going on between you and your fiancé, it's a private matter after all. Fonda has helped you once, and he won't help you a second time. So, don't bother him anymore. Let's put an end to this matter. The woman was not convinced and wanted to retort. However, under Lung Ruoxue's sharp gaze, she could only obediently shut her mouth. Following that, Lung Ruoxue introduced Ji Yun and the others to Fonda and the others. After exchanging some pleasantries, they completely ignored the woman's presence. The woman was so angry that she stood at the side and stared helplessly. However, no one paid her any attention. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. She stomped her feet and turned around to leave angrily. As she watched the woman's back, Lung Ruoshu asked curiously, "Who's that woman? How did you manage to save her?" For what she knew, Fongda and the others shouldn't be people who like to meddle in other people's business. "Miss, it's depressing to say that I didn't plan to save her at all. It was just that when she had a conflict with her fiancé, we were dragged into it. So, I had no choice but to help. Otherwise, that man would have killed me," Fongda explained. "There's such a thing." Looking at the depressed Fongda, Lung Ruoshu couldn't help but laugh. It seemed like this was an unexpected disaster for Fongda. "Yes, ever since I accidentally saved her, my good days have come to an end." Fongda put on a bitter face and said pitifully. Upon hearing this, Lin Yuan could not help but chuckle. "You're still laughing?" Fongda glared at Lin Yuan and said fiercely. "Don't you think it's funny? I've been here for so long, if I don't have these jokes, they'll be depressed to death." Lin Yuan said with some schadenfreude. He had almost become used to seeing one of them chasing and the other hiding every day. If he didn't see them for a day, he would feel that something was wrong. You wait. After we leave this place, he'll challenge you to a one-on-one fight." Fongda was so angry that he had to hold it in for a long time before he could say this. "Let's fight one-on-one then. Who's afraid of who?" Lin Yuan didn't mind. Anyway, with Miss around, Fongda couldn't do anything to him. "Stop bickering. You haven't told me who that woman was." Lung Ruoshu saw the two of them bickering as if there was no one else around and could only remind them. "Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never lose 100 battles." She didn't want that woman to cause any trouble for them. We don't even know who she is." Even though she always asked, "Do you know who I am?" However, she has never revealed her identity. Lin Yuan scratched his head and said in embarrassment. When everyone heard this, their foreheads were full of cold sweat. They thought to themselves, this matter is so troublesome, and they still don't know that woman's identity. "Miss, do you want me to ask her?" Lin Yuan saw everyone's expression and probed. "There's no need to ask her, someone's coming," Lung Ruoshu said. As soon as she finished speaking, a young man strode up to them and said very politely, "Good day, everyone. Immerse Fei. What are you doing here? We don't welcome you." Fongda looked at the young man and said in an unpleasant tone, "This brother, we had some misunderstanding earlier and Murong and I, would like to apologize to you." Fong Da's reaction was within Murong Fei's expectations, but he wasn't angry. Moreover, he didn't expect that these people would have relations with the Ning family. In this case, he had to apologize sincerely. Fongda shot a glance at Murong Fei and snorted coldly as he turned his head away. It was obvious that he was still angry. After all, no one would be nice to someone who had tried to kill them. Murong Fei, the young master of the Murong family? At this moment, Yu Chun, who had heard Murong Fei's self-introduction, said indifferently, "Yes, young master Yu. I've long heard of your great name." Murong Yuan nodded her head to express her goodwill. "I don't dare. I should be the one who's been looking up to young Master Murong for a long time." Yu Chun replied courteously. Then he transmitted a message to Lung Ruoshu, "Little sister Ruoshu, this Murong clan is also one of the top clans in the divinity. Even though they are ranked behind our Yu clan among the many top clans, they have always been mysterious, and no one would dare to look down on them. Therefore, if possible, try not to offend him at this time. Otherwise, if he uses some tricks behind our backs, we will also be in trouble." And Lung Ruoshu nodded her head slightly. Before she could figure out Murong Fei's purpose for coming, she would of course not take the initiative to offend him. Hearing Yu Chen's words, Murong Fei knew that he was just being polite, so naturally she wouldn't take it seriously. After all, among the many young masters of the families, Yu Chen's reputation was rather great. However, he was giving him face, so he had to appreciate it. With a faint smile, Murong Fei opened her mouth again. "Young Master Yu, who are these people?" "These three are from the Ji family. This is my little sister, her husband, and her subordinate." Yu Chen pointed at Lung Ruoshu and the others as he gave a simple introduction. "Oh, I had some misunderstandings with them before, so I'm here to apologize and clarify the misunderstanding." Murong Fei smiled as she explained, and she swept a glance at Fonda and Lin Yuan. Is it a misunderstanding that you want to kill us? After hearing Murong Fei's words, Fonda questioned her coldly. At that time, I was in a fit of anger, so what I said was a little. I hope you don't take offense. Murong Di said shyly. It's fine if you don't want us to take offense. Just keep your fiancée in check and don't let her bother us. We'll pretend that nothing happened. Lin Yuan stated his conditions. I'll try my best, but Lin has been spoiled by her family since she was young, so she's a little willful. Murong Di said, but before he could finish, he was interrupted by Lin Yuan. You mean you can't control her? Lin Yuan said with a look of disdain. I'll try my best. Murong Fei said very implicitly. In fact, he really couldn't control that detestable woman and didn't want to control her. Then well, wait and see. Lin Yuan said with a smile. Murong Fei unwillingly nodded her head. She knew that this fellow didn't think highly of her, but she couldn't blame him for this. Who asked his previous performance to be like this? Initially, he wanted to get closer to Lung Ruoxue and the others. However, he saw that the crowd did not seem to welcome him, so he could only take his leave embarrassedly. After Murong Fei left, Lung Ruoxue looked at Fonda and Lin Yuan indifferently and asked, as long as he takes care of his fiancée, you really won't care about him trying to kill you? And Fonda nodded his head heavily. As long as Murong Fei was able to control that top-quality woman, it didn't matter if he suffered a little. He was really frightened by that woman. Looking at Fonda's fearful expression, Lung Ruoxue laughed in her heart. It seemed like that woman was quite powerful. She could actually resolve the enmity between them and Murong Fei. However, this was good too. At least they could focus on the competition. Before Lung Ruoxue could put down her thoughts, an extremely mechanical voice suddenly rang out in the huge public square. Welcome to the Dream Dust Space, everyone. I am the space spirit of this place. It's also the final decision for your competition. The mechanical voice spoke in a very calm tone. Furthermore, it was impossible to tell if it was a male or a female from its voice. However, everyone present understood its meaning. It seemed like they were going to have a competition here. But it shouldn't be like this, right? Looking at the question marks on everyone's faces, the mechanical voice continued. The competition this time will be slightly different from the previous ones, but the results will be the same. So, just bring out your true strength, because the final winner of this competition will get a special prize. Chapter 1902. Chaotic Battle 1. Special Award. Only a small number of people were happy to hear these words, while most of them had some doubts in their hearts. At least in their opinion, the special prize that the other party had mentioned was a little hot and not so easy to get. Thus, everyone fell silent. The mechanical voice sensed the calm reaction of the crowd. Although it was slightly surprised, it did not show it. Instead, it continued to coax, "Aren't you guys curious about what the special prize is and how you can get it?" In fact, what he didn't know was that it wasn't that most people weren't curious, but that the recent series of changes in the special space had made most of them extremely vigilant. After all, no one wanted to lose their lives here. As soon as the mechanical voice finished speaking, someone really asked, "What's the special prize? How can I get it?" The person who asked the question was a very wretched-looking young man. His shifty eyes were looking around restlessly, and there was a trace of a lecherous smile on his face. Those who didn't know would think that he was observing the situation here. In fact, his eyes were looking at the beautiful women here. Moreover, he felt that his eyes were not enough, and he wished he could have a few more pairs of eyes. No comment. The mechanical voice replied indifferently. "You? Didn't you want us to ask you? I asked, but you didn't answer. What does this mean? You're playing with me." The wretched-looking man roared in anger. Seeing him being played like a monkey by the mechanical voice, many people couldn't help but burst out laughing. "What are you laughing at? What's so funny?" The wretched-looking man's face was flushed red, and his embarrassment turned into anger. Then he shouted at the empty space, "Damn it! You have to give me an explanation." "Umph. Why should I give you an explanation? This is my territory. If I want to tell you, I'll tell you. If I don't want to tell you, no one can force me." The mechanical voice said in a very characteristic manner. "Oh, really? We're the elites of the big families. If our families find out that you're toying with us like this, they won't let you off." The wretched-looking man was furious and couldn't help but threaten. When many people heard his words, they couldn't help but shake their heads. I really don't know which family this guy belongs to. How can he be so brainless? He actually dared to threaten his master in someone else's territory. Wasn't he courting death? Sure enough, not long after they thought about it, they felt a gust of cold wind coming from where they were. Then they heard Papa. The resentful and disgruntled man's face immediately swelled up, and blood continued to flow from the corner of his mouth. Everyone was shocked. The speed of the mechanical sound was so fast. They had just felt that something was amiss, and the vulgar man was already injured. However, they could tell that the mechanical voice was only trying to punish the vulgar man. Otherwise, he would not have been beaten up so badly. After the wretched-looking man was beaten up, not only did he not restrain himself, the hatred in his heart rose even higher. He roared at the void indignantly. What a good guy who hides his head and shows his tail. If you have the guts, come out and fight one-on-one. What kind of ability is it to stab people in the back? You'll only be looked down upon. After he finished speaking, the people who were closer to him subconsciously stayed away from him to avoid being accidentally affected by him. However, the perverted man was still unaware. When he saw that the mechanical voice did not respond, he thought that the other party was afraid of him and could not help but feel smug. Unfortunately, extreme joy begets sorrow. Just as he was feeling extremely pleased with himself, his entire body suddenly twitched and white foam came out of his mouth. Then he fell limply to the ground. This time, the people present didn't even feel a slight movement. The vulgar man had already died. Seeing this scene, everyone was even more bewildered. This guy's old habit acted up again, or did he make a move? Now, they had no way to distinguish between the two. Everyone looked at each other and became even more cautious. As for the vulgar man's family, when they saw this, they didn't even dare to breathe loudly, let alone seek justice for him. Not long after, the mechanical voice finally spoke again. "Oomph. How dare he act so arrogantly in my territory? He'll definitely let him know why flowers are so red." Now, everyone was finally sure that the man's death was related to the mechanical voice. Their hearts trembled, and they became even more careful. When Lung Ruashua heard the mechanical voice's words, she couldn't help but feel speechless. It seemed like the phrase, "Why are flowers so red?" had already become a classic. Even this unknown person in the God realm knew about it. Indeed, anything was possible. If you have any questions, just ask. The mechanical voice continued. However, after hearing his words, no one dared to speak. After all, no one wanted to die. The mechanical voice was getting impatient with the silence. "Are you guys going to ask or not? If there's no problem, they'll kill you all directly. It's better than you being an eyesore here." The mechanical voice was very violent, and the consequences were very serious. When everyone heard his words, they felt extremely aggrieved. The person from before had also died. Now that they were asked to ask again, if their words did not win this person's heart, wouldn't they end up the same as the previous person? However, if they didn't ask, this person would destroy them again. This was clearly making things difficult for him. "Sob, you can't be such a bully." Everyone wanted to cry to death. After the mechanical voice finished speaking, it deliberately waited for a while. Who knew that most people were still remorseful and no one responded at all? Suddenly, the owner of the voice was furious. With two ear-piercing screams, two more people died. As for how the two of them had died, everyone was confused because they did not see or feel the other party's attack. However, the two of them had died. What a strange speed. What a strange technique. Everyone felt a chill down their spine, and their hair stood on end. Those who were less courageous had already begun to tremble. However, at the same time, the image of the violent mechanical voice had also been deeply engraved in the depths of their hearts. What was even more terrifying was that this was someone else's territory. They would probably be crushed to death as easily as ants. Seeing this, Lung Ruashua couldn't help but frown. This guy was too casual when he killed people. It seemed like he really didn't care about the people here. However, she couldn't let the owner of the voice continue to be so brutal. It wasn't that she was a saint, but she was afraid that the weird guy who didn't play by the rules would hurt the people around her. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly and said, "What do you want us to ask? If we asked, would you answer us without reserve?" Chapter 1903, Chaotic Battle 2. It depends on the situation. It depends on my mood. The owner of the mechanical voice said arrogantly, "You killed them because of your mood?" Lung Ruoxue understood. From the looks of it, he was also a willful and reckless fellow. Of course, the mechanical voice said matter-of-factly, and its tone was also very annoying, making many people's anger burst out. However, in view of how terrifying this guy was, no one dared to say what they were thinking. "Oh, not bad. I really admire your carefree attitude," Lung Ruoxue complimented. However, her words caused some dissatisfaction among the people present, especially those families who had lost their members. "That damned woman. What did you just say? You actually admire a guy who kills innocents?" Someone immediately jumped out and criticized. "What's wrong? I can't." Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with astonishment. "Who is this guy? Of course not. Do you still have any humanity? He killed so many of our men, and you still admire him? Are you in cahoots with him?" The man was so embarrassed that he became angry and tried to sow discord. "You've never killed anyone." Lung Ruoxue ignored the person's words and asked indifferently. The man was at a loss for words. Of course, he had killed people before, but all cultivators had blood on their hands. But how is this the same? What's wrong? Are you thinking that you're also inhumane? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile that was not a smile. In a world where the strong were respected, there were many inhumane people. However, these people had all sorts of strange reasons for killing. Of course, there were also people like the owner of the mechanical voice who killed the other party because they did not like the look of the other party. This had nothing to do with human nature, but was due to the environment. These people couldn't possibly use the moral standards of the secular world to set a standard. After all, this was the divine realm. The man continued to be speechless. At this time, the mechanical voice snorted coldly. The man's face turned pale with fright, and he immediately shrank back into the crowd, not daring to make a sound. Seeing his cowardice, everyone's faces revealed a look of disdain. He didn't have that much ability, yet he still dared to stand out. Wasn't this courting death? However, to Lung Ruoxue and the mechanical voice, it was just a small interlude. Neither of them took it to heart. As for the mechanical voice, seeing that it finally found someone to talk to, it magnanimously let the guy go. Then, he turned to Lung Ruoxue and said, "Little girl, I think you're quite pleasing to the eye. If you have any questions, just ask. As long as it's something I can answer, they'll tell you everything I know." These two attitudes and two different treatments made everyone present envious. Many people even hated themselves for not being women. Look at the difference between before and after. Men were killed directly, and women were more pleasing to the eye. This was clearly gender discrimination. Although many people felt that it was unfair, in the face of the mechanical voice that was full of emotions, no one dared to stand out and express their thoughts. "Thank you. I want to know, how are we going to proceed with the next match?" The strength of everyone present is clearly not on the same level. If everyone were to compete together, it would seem unfair to us who are of lower strength. Lung Ruoxue replied bluntly after hearing the mechanical voice. "Ha ha ha. You don't have to worry about that. When the match starts, the opponent's strength will be adjusted according to your own strength. This is also for the fairness of the competition." The mechanical voice explained. "Oh, then how should we compete?" Lung Ruoxue nodded and continued to ask. "Anything. You guys can compete however you want. I won't interfere." The mechanical voice said irresponsibly. His words made everyone frown. What did he mean? They didn't understand. "We can compete in any way." Lung Ruoxue was also a little surprised. Was this considered a competition? You can compete in any way you want. There are too many of you now. If we follow the usual competition format, who knows when we'll be able to compete. Therefore, I can only let all of you settle this on your own. Whether it's a one-on-one battle or a one-on-end battle, it's up to all of you. In any case, only 100 people will be left here in the end. As for the others, they can only pray for themselves. The mechanical voice laughed evilly. Lung Ruashue finally understood. This fellow wanted them to have a chaotic battle first, leaving only 100 people behind before proceeding with the so-called competition. From the tone of the mechanical voice, she could tell that it was gloating over her misfortune. Only the final winner will get the special prize. The mechanical voice added, "Can the special general be revealed?" Lung Ruashue asked again. "Of course not. However, I can tell you that the special prize will definitely move everyone. However, only the final winner will know what the grand prize is. The others can only look at the prize and sigh." The mechanical voice said with a hint of excitement. "Ha ha ha. The preliminaries will begin in half an hour. All the best, you guys." The mechanical voice spoke again, and then he disappeared. After the mechanical voice left, many people fell into deep thought. Of course, even more people were communicating with each other through voice transmission, discussing their plans. Lung Ruashue and the others were no exception. "Miss Lung, we'll listen to you on how to fight," Elder E said with a all follow your lead look. Lung Ruashue nodded her head, then turned her gaze towards Yu Chun, Ji Yun, and the rest. "Big brother Yu Ji Yun, what about you?" Lung Ruashue asked. If it was possible, she naturally did not wish to fight with them now. However, the Yu and Ji families might not have such thoughts, so she had to clarify things first. "Ruashue, of course I'm following you." Upon hearing this, Ji Yun hurriedly said, "Why are you following my shuer? It's not like I don't have my own family." Hearing Ji Yun's words, the demon was unhappy. They'll listen to Ruakshu's arrangements. Ji Yun explained with an aggrieved look on his face. "Wu, why is this fellow so annoying? She always picked on him. You'll listen to whatever shuer says?" The demon raised his eyebrows and asked. And Ji Yun nodded, his face filled with anticipation. "What's the use of you listening? Will the Ji family listen to you?" The demon said with a face of disbelief. "I will. I have the final say here." Ji Yun said with a nod. Although the Ji family had sent their own elders to participate in the competition, his words still carried a lot of weight in the Ji family. As long as he agreed, those clansmen would not dare to object. "If that's the case, then you should go and greet the Ji clansmen. Let's not make a move for now and deal with the others first." The demon laughed. He knew that shuer had the same thoughts as him. However, he didn't want shuer to say these words to Ji Yun. Chapter 1904, Chaotic Battle 3. All right. Ji Yun glanced at Lung Ruashue and nodded. After he finished speaking, he walked towards the crowd. At this time, the evildoer's gaze turned to Yu Chun. Yu Chun did not wait for the evildoer to speak and hurriedly said, "I also agree with this method. Let's work together to deal with the others first." After saying that, he went to contact his family members. "What about you two?" The demon glanced at Zhou Kuan and Meng Bao again. Zhou Kuan shuddered, but he could not make the decision. Meng Bao, on the other hand, said confidently, "No problem. We have no objections." "You have no objections? Can you be the head of the Zhou family?" The demon smiled faintly. He didn't really believe Meng Bao's words. "He'll think of a way to convince them," Meng Bao said confidently. After that, he dragged Zhou Kuan away and left for the time being. Needless to say, Lung Ruashue and the others knew that Meng Bao had gone to talk to the Zhou family. Half an hour was a very short time, and it passed in the blink of an eye. Therefore, many families seemed to be a little flustered. However, every family basically had a few allies or close families, so even if they were a little flustered, they still managed to pull in a lot of partners for their family before the primary selection began. There were only a few minutes left until the end of the half hour. A huge screen appeared in the sky above the square where they were. There were only 2 lines of words on the screen. One was the countdown to the preliminaries, and the other was the number of participants. Number of players, 5987625. One Lung Ruashue did not expect the public square to be able to accommodate tens of millions of people. This was only the tip of the iceberg for the various clans. After all, each clan had less than 30 participants. One could imagine how many clans were participating. As the countdown reached the last 5 seconds, the atmosphere became more and more tense. When the countdown on the virtual screen reached 0, everyone's hearts couldn't help but jump to their throats. In an instant, someone made the first move, and then the scene fell into a chaotic battle. In this preliminary, everyone's strength had not been adjusted to the same level as their opponents. As a result, the stronger ones naturally had the advantage. In almost the blink of an eye, many people disappeared with the white light. Whether it was the losers or those who had lost their lives, none of them would remain here. The number of people on the virtual screen was also decreasing at a speed that was not visible to the naked eye. Lung Ruoxue and the others did not make a move. Instead, they watched on coldly. However, they did not hold back against those who provoked them and wanted to fight with them. After severely injuring their opponents, they disappeared into the white light without any exception. "Miss, have they been teleported out?" Lu Tao asked curiously. "It should be." Lung Ruoxue nodded. It seemed like there was a set of judging criteria here. Those who were determined to be the losing side would be teleported out. However, there were also those who were teleported out immediately after death. After all, not everyone would have a sense of propriety in their attacks. There was a considerable number of people who were extremely brutal in their attacks. They would not care about the life and death of their opponents, as long as they won. Of course, it was also to end the battle as soon as possible. After all, there were too many participants. "Miss, when do we make our move?" Seeing the other participants fighting in full swing, Feng Da's hands were itchy. However, although they had not made a move yet, they had already defeated many participants. Of course, they were all the ones who came to their doorstep. "No rush. Let's wait and see for now," Lung Ruoxue said calmly. The number of people was still a little too many to her. If she were to make a move now, they would be exhausted to death before they could clear out all these people. Lung Ruoxue would never do something that was not worth it. Moreover, there seemed to be many people who had the same idea as her. As the number of people on the scene decreased rapidly, more and more people started to move. Of course, there were also people who had their eyes on Lung Ruoxue's group. After all, their strength was not high. However, Elder Yi and the other members of the Ning family had been guarding the periphery of Lung Ruoxue's group. Seeing the aggressive Ning family, those who wanted to take advantage of them had to think twice. Lung Ruoxue and the rest did not know whether to laugh or cry when they saw how many people were hesitating. It seemed like the power of the Ning family was greater. At the very least, with them around, some random people would not dare to come forward. "Elder Yi, with you around, fewer and fewer people will dare to find trouble with us. If this continues, I'm afraid we won't have the chance to make a move again." Feng De grumbled. When Elder Yi heard this, he looked at Lung Ruoxue and the rest with an aggrieved expression. Sob, could they be blamed? Before he came here, the family head had instructed that not only must he listen to Lung Ruoxue, he must also protect her well. Otherwise, if Lung Ruoxue were to hurt even a single hair on her head, he would be banished. Of course, the prerequisite for all this was that they had the chance to meet Lung Ruoxue, and now they were with Lung Ruoxue. Hence, in order to prevent themselves from being banished, they could only treat Lung Ruoxue and the others as rare animals and protect them closely. "Calm down. There will be a chance." Lung Ruoxue glanced at Elder Yi and tried to hold back her laughter as she consoled him. "MMH, there were still more than 30 million people. You'll definitely have a chance." Looking at the numbers displayed on the screen, Elder Yi quickly chimed in. Although the battle had only lasted for less than an hour, more than 20 million people had already been eliminated. Such a speed was simply the speed of light. Elder Yi couldn't help but sigh. At this moment, a small group of a few hundred people charged towards them. Instantly, Elder Yi raised his guard. However, when he caught a glimpse of Lung Ruoxue and the rest's calm expressions, he broke out in cold sweat. Was he making a big fuss over nothing? In fact, Fonda and the others were excited when they saw these people. Each of them was so excited that their faces turned red, and their eyes were even shooting out hot sparks. Looking at those people who were rushing towards them, Fonda and the others felt very kind. It was as if they had reunited with their family after a long time. However, the weapons that appeared in their hands shattered the possibility that they were family. Seeing the excitement of Fonda and the others, Elder Yes' forehead was full of black lines. This group of people were really a group of warmongers. Forget it. Since they wanted to fight, then he would give them this opportunity. At the same time that Elder Chu thought of this, he also made up his mind that he and the others would protect them from the side. Thinking of this, Elder Yi gave a look to the Ning family. Then, they made way for him. Fonda and the others rushed out like arrows. There were only a few people in Feng Da's group. When they rushed into the crowd of hundreds of people, the weapons in their hands were swung at the other party as if they were cutting watermelons. His hand rose and his blade fell. With a flash of white light, dozens of people disappeared in the blink of an eye. And their attacks were absolutely ruthless, accurate, and fast. He didn't waste any opportunity to attack. Every time he swung his weapon at the opponent, dozens of people would be taken away by the white light. Soon, the small group of hundreds of people was left with only a few dozen. When the dozens of people saw this, they knew that they had met a tough opponent. However, what made them feel even more depressed was that their strength was obviously above the other party's, but unfortunately, they could not beat Fonda and the others, who only had a few people. This fact was really too hurtful to their self-esteem. In reality, what they did not know was that Fonda and the rest had acted as fast as lightning and eliminated them in such a short time. The main reason was that they were afraid that Lung Ruoxue would interfere. Once their young miss made her move, they would have nothing to do with it. These people were definitely an instant kill for Miss. After the transition from a few hundred people to a few dozen people, those people who had come with a menacing momentum and treated Lung Ruoxue and her group as pushovers no longer dared to attack rashly. They looked at each other without making a sound and actually did the same thing escape. However, Fonda and the others did not even bother to chase after them when they saw them running away. They returned to the group after sneering. Seeing Fonda and the others return in high spirits, Elder Yi swallowed his saliva with some difficulty and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. What a pervert! Truly abnormal. A few people against a few hundred people, and actually won. If it was him, he couldn't guarantee that he could scare those people away in such a short time. However, Fonda and the others had done it, so he looked at them in a different way. No wonder the family had attached so much importance to them. As expected, they had the ability. At this time, Elder Tong could not even feel jealous. His attitude towards them was even friendlier. Ha! Elder Yi, in the future, if there's someone like this, just leave it to us to deal with them. As for those divine emperors and the like, I'll leave them to you. Fonda said with a smile. He knew himself well. He didn't feel any pressure dealing with those people just now. After all, the strength of the other party was not much higher than theirs. When their young lady gave them special training, they had the same experience. However, if the strength of the opponent was too much higher than them, they would not have absolute confidence. Yes. Feng Da's words made Elder Yi nod his head repeatedly. Time passed. The number of people on the screen was only maintained at a few million. However, the huge public square was still in a state of chaos. Among them, there were still many ignorant people who had targeted Lung Ruoxue and the others. However, those who had come to seek death had never returned. Slowly, the number of participants surrounding Lung Ruoxue and her group decreased. Lung Ruoxue and her group were so bored that they simply sat on the ground. Their carefree attitude angered many people. However, no one had the time to find trouble with them. The current situation was that the small families wouldn't dare to provoke them. The top families wouldn't provoke them. And as for the participants of the 8 divine regions, they wouldn't provoke them right now either. Who asked the Ning family to wear the same pants as them? Chapter 1905. Throwing the Game 1. After an unknown period of time, the number of people in the plaza finally dropped from 1 million to only a few tens of thousands. However, in Lung Ruoxu's eyes, there were still too many people. Not only that, more and more people were targeting them. This was because as the others left the plaza or died, the number of participants with lower cultivation was also decreasing. Just as Lung Ruoxue and the rest were observing the situation in the arena, a few other participants from different families had their eyes on them. It was obvious that these families were in an alliance. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly as she looked at the family clans that were slowly approaching them. She then said to Elder Chu, "Elder Yi, you guys should go and find some opponents to play with." Play? When Elder Tong heard this, he was speechless. So this young lady had been treating them as a joke all this time? This was really infuriating. Most people were extremely nervous because of this competition, but this person was treating it as a game? All right, he had to admit that the other party had the ability to play. Moreover, after living for so long, this was the first time he had seen a contestant so free and easy in a competition. Today could be considered as an eye-opener. Yup, Elder Yi, hurry up and find an opponent to fight with. With you guys here, not many families will dare to come. Hearing that their miss was driving them away, Feng De and the others quickly echoed. Hearing Feng De's disdainful tone, Elder Yi and the rest of the Ning family were speechless. Weren't they here to protect them? Great. Now she was despised by him. Sob, was there any justice left in this world? Elder Yi and the others were extremely depressed, but they didn't dare to vent their anger on these people, so they could only vent it on the other participants. Elder Yi rushed forward like an arrow and swept the unlucky ones closest to him out of the arena with his weapon. Those unlucky ones didn't even have time to react before they were reported to be seriously injured. When the other Ning family members saw this, they also rushed into the chaotic battle like tigers and wolves, killing without any scruples. With their strong intervention, the number of people in the chaotic battle was decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Many families had a headache when they saw this situation. Fuck, what had happened to the Ning family? They had been biding their time before, but now it was as if they had taken stimulants, one after another. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before they were all spread out. This fact that was about to happen made many families vigilant, and they quietly stayed away from the Ning family's battle range. Before they could come up with a good plan, they should get as far away as possible. More than one family present had such a thought. When Feng De and the others saw this, they kept cheering for the Ning family. Elder Yi, good luck, you guys. Feng De and the others shouted. All right, you guys on the left want to run. Don't let them off. Lin Yuan reminded. Their actions had undoubtedly angered the masses. Those families who wanted to avoid the Ning family. When they heard this, suddenly all of their faces were red with anger, and their angry eyes stared as if they wanted to swallow them alive. Some people even rushed toward Feng De and the others angrily. When Feng De and the others saw this, they were all smiling and extremely happy. As for those participants who had come with an overbearing and angry attitude, they had never expected that they would not be able to return. By the time they realized this fact, it was already too late. Feng De and the others would never let go of those who took the initiative to provoke them. Not only that, but Feng De and the others also continued to uphold the principle of speed, ruthlessness, and accuracy when they attacked. Almost all of their attacks were fatal, which was equivalent to giving a warning to those who wanted to challenge them. When those people saw Feng De and the others, who were full of killing intent, they were completely dumbfounded. Were these guys still human? He looked so weak, but his combat power was so shocking. In an instant, everyone felt that they had been deceived. Some even thought of running away. However, since they were already here, how could Feng De and the others let them go back? Without giving them too much time to think, Feng De and the others attacked one after another. In an instant, countless blades flashed with dazzling sparks, causing ripples. In addition to the light of teleportation, the scene became even brighter. Inside the dream dust space, the battle was in full swing. At the same time, outside the arena, it was not calm either. After the second shock, the huge light curtain outside the arena disappeared. As a result, the representatives of the families outside the arena couldn't see the situation inside the special space through the light curtain. This fact had made many families panic. After all, many families had sent their elite members to participate in the competition. If something happened to them, it would be a huge loss for any family. Not only that, they wouldn't even know how their family members died. This was something they couldn't tolerate. As a result, after the light screen disappeared, many families went to look for the person in charge of the competition in the Divine Lord's estate. Although many families feared the authority of the Divine Lord's estate, they could not care so much now that the fate of their clansmen was unknown. Therefore, all the families had a tacit understanding to protect their common interests. Their interference had given the person in charge of the God Lord's estate's elite assembly a headache. The Divine Master's estate had specially sent a reverent god to host the elite competition this time. This showed how much the Divine Master's estate valued the elite competition. The reverent god had fought for this opportunity with great difficulty from many competitors. However, he had never dreamed that he had not gained any benefits. This time's elite gathering was full of problems, causing him to be badly battered. This time, his opponent would have a good show to watch. As the saying went, where there were people, there would be competition. The competition in the Divine Lord's estate was even more intense. Although he was a reverent god and had a high status in the divine world, his strength was not the highest among the reverent gods in the Divine Lord's estate. The one who was on par with him was his biggest competitor. Basically, the two of them would not give in to each other if they could compete. In the guest room of the Divine Master's estate, the hierarch was frowning as he sat on the main seat. In front of him were the representatives from the various families who had come to inquire about the situation. Although the representatives looked very polite and respectful on the surface, he was not happy deep down. This was because the representatives of the various families were not prepared to leave before they received a positive answer from him. Instead, they were sitting face to face with him. He still had to entertain them with good food and drink. No matter how he thought about it, he felt depressed. Sir Xia, I wonder when you can give us an answer? We're very worried about our clansmen. After waiting for a long time and not getting any reply, someone finally couldn't help but ask again. Chapter 1906. Throwing the Game 2. I've already reported this matter to the Divine Master, and I believe there will be news soon. Everyone, please calm down. Xia Yi consoled him with a frown. In reality, he was also a little puzzled. By right, the Divine Master should know everything about this special space like the back of his hand. However, it had been so long. Why had he not sent anyone to inform him of what had happened inside? The last time the barrier was broken, the God Lord had immediately sent someone to inform him. This time, there was no news. It was unusual. Sir Xia, please understand our anxiety. The clansmen in this special space are all the elites of our great clans. If they were to suffer any harm, it would be a great loss for us. Someone else said. Understand, Xia Yi replied indifferently. He didn't want to argue with them over this matter. In fact, how could there be no casualties in a competition? If the clans suffered such heavy losses just because of a competition, then wasn't the clan a little too weak? He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Then, I wonder when Sir Xia Yi will be able to give us an answer. The man pressed on with an anxious expression. I'll inform you immediately once the Divine Master sends someone to inform me. Of course, if you really can't wait, you can go and see the Divine Master. I believe that the God Lord will give you an answer. Xia Yi reminded him in a calm and composed manner. When that person heard Xia Yi's words, he immediately wilted. How could he dare to directly ask the Divine Master? Wasn't that courting death? Why do you ask the Divine Master? You are in charge of this matter. At this moment, a disapproving voice came from outside. Then, a tall, middle-aged man strode into the reception room. The representatives of the various families in the reception room immediately stood up from their seats as soon as they saw the man and saluted him. Greetings, Your Excellency Huangwei. This person was also a reverent god, and he was Xia Yi's sworn enemy. Please don't stand on ceremony, everyone, Huangwei said with an amiable smile. He did not put on the airs of a divine reverend. This made everyone feel very comfortable, and their impression of him became even better. "What are you doing here?" As soon as Xia saw this fellow, his tone immediately turned sharp. When everyone present saw this, they immediately understood what was going on. From the looks of it, the rumors that they were at odds with each other should be true. "I'm here to help you, of course," Huang Wei said with a faint smile. Then he sat down in the empty seat beside Xia. "You're that kind?" Xia asked with a face of disbelief. This fellow was more like a spectator. Why would he help him? Wouldn't it be raining red then? "I've always been kind." Huang Wei glanced at Xia and said impolitely, "You're kind." Upon hearing this, Xia snorted disdainfully. If this fellow was kind, he wouldn't be able to find an evil person. "When I heard that there was an accident in the competition, I immediately came to help you. How can I not be kind?" Huang Wei retorted. He couldn't help but laugh in his heart. The grand meeting of the elites this time was really lively. Every now and then, something would happen. Just by watching it, he was already so happy that his stomach hurt. As for Xia he must be feeling depressed from his constipated expression. Now, he was glad that he wasn't in charge of this matter. Otherwise, wouldn't he be the one feeling depressed now? "You're kind my ass." Xia could not help but curse in his heart. His expression became uglier and uglier. After glaring at Huang Wei, he simply closed his eyes and pretended to sleep without saying a word. Seeing him like this, none of the representatives present dared to disturb him. After all, he was a divine reverend. When Huang Wei saw Xia's reaction, he knew that he was quite angry. He smiled indifferently and then started to chat about daily life with the people present to show his closeness. Although everyone present was somewhat absent-minded at this moment, they didn't dare to not give face to a reverent god's goodwill. After a long time, the divine master finally sent a guard over. The guard sent by the master god received many expectant looks as soon as he entered the guest room. He didn't waste any time and told everyone a master god's reply. The divine master said that this is the normal procedure of the competition. Those people are currently in the middle of the competition, and he asked you not to worry. The guard said, "Then why did the light screen disappear?" Someone couldn't help but ask. If the light screen was still there, they wouldn't have to worry about this. That's to make the game go better. I hope you can understand. The Godlord also doesn't wish for any estrangement to occur between your clans because of this competition, so the competition has been temporarily changed to a closed-off state. I seek everyone's understanding," the guard said apologetically. "I see." Everyone nodded. Since the Divine Master had said so, they naturally could not continue to be entangled in this matter. After reaching this conclusion, everyone stood up and took their leave. At this moment, the master of the Ning family and the others in the arena had naturally learned of this news. "Brother Long, how true do you think the Divine Master's reply is?" The master of the Ning family frowned and asked with uncertainty. No matter how many lies his answer is, we can't be sure that it's not. Since that's the case, why should you be bothered by this? Just wait patiently." Uncle Long glanced at the master of the Ning family and said indifferently. Then he closed his eyes again. Seeing him like this, the master of the Ning family completely lost his temper. Uncle Long's expression would never change, even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. It seemed like he still had a lot of training to do. The great elder swallowed his questions after hearing Uncle Long's words. He peeked at Uncle Long with a hint of resentment, then closed his eyes. At the same time, in a towering palace within the Divine Master's estate, a red-robed woman sat on the throne with a dark expression. Her face was like a storm, and her subordinates were all pale-faced and trembling. "My lord, please forgive me. We can't contact Dream Dust." One of the subordinates trembled and said nervously, "You can't contact him? Then what do I raise you for? You guys are really useless." The woman, who was addressed as the master, roared in anger. Her originally beautiful face had become somewhat distorted, and her eyes were spitting flames of anger. That damn Dream Dust. He actually dared to go against her. She would not let that guy off. The woman was filled with hatred. When the subordinates kneeling in front of her heard the woman's words, they felt aggrieved. They also wanted to contact that damn dream dust. However, that guy didn't even care about them. What could they do? Even his lord couldn't do anything to him. So how could Huan Shen listen to them? Chapter 1907. Throwing the game 3. Continue to contact Huan Shen. Tell him that if he doesn't appear, he'll destroy him. He ordered. The woman saw that her subordinate was silent, so she continued to order with a cold face. Yes, yes, the subordinate replied. Then he stood up and left the main hall. Just as they left, a figure appeared in front of the woman. Seeing that detestable figure, the woman's anger grew even more intense. What? You're finally willing to come out. The woman's face was cold as she said in an unpleasant tone. Do I dare not to come out? If I don't come out, you're going to destroy me. The owner of the figure said indifferently. The person who spoke was dressed in white, floating like a fairy. There was a faint smile on his extremely handsome face, but that smile did not reach his eyes. Instead, his originally clear and bright eyes were filled with coldness. I only did that to force you out. Do you think I would bear to destroy you? The woman smiled faintly and said in a flirtatious manner, "Am willing." Huan Shen said coldly. He knew that if he could not be used by her, she would destroy him without any hesitation. Although the price of destroying him was a little high for her, it was better than losing control of herself. If that day really comes, you're the one who forced me. Actually, how could I bear to destroy you? The woman said innocently. Her alluring eyes continued to shoot electricity at Huan Shen, but Huan Shen remained unmoved. Is it true that as long as you don't like them and they're not used by you, they're all forcing you? Huan Shen coldly laughed when he heard the woman's words. Of course, the woman said matter-of-factly. Ha ha, you're still as overbearing as ever. Huan Shen understood. It's good you know. Let me ask you, weren't you in a deep sleep? Why did you suddenly wake up? The woman pressed, her face filled with displeasure. I've slept enough, so you'll naturally wake up. Huan Shen's tone was indifferent, but it was enough to anger people to death. In fact, the reason why he had woken up was all because of this woman. If it wasn't for her, how could he have woken up at this time? However, he would not tell this to the woman in front of him. Oh, really? Huan Shen, don't blame me for not warning you. You'd better not play any tricks, or it'll destroy you at all costs. Although the woman didn't fully believe Huan Shen's words, she still glared at him with a pair of flaming eyes. Do I dare to play any tricks in front of you? Huan Shen asked. Since you don't dare, then be more honest. The woman continued. I've always been honest, you should know that. Huan Shen said with a faint smile. After saying that, he immediately disappeared. The woman glared in the direction Huan Shen had disappeared in and gritted her teeth in hatred. Why couldn't that damn guy be used by her? She really hated this weapon spirit with an independent personality. Huan Shen was none other than the owner of that special space, the legendary weapon spirit. The special space that hosted the elite competition was a spatial god tool created by the previous Divine Lord. The god tool had been created by the previous Divine Lord unintentionally, but due to some accidents during the process of creation, not only had the god tool's quality increased by several levels, but it had also given birth to Dream Dust, a tool spirit with an independent personality. And it was an uncontrollable, disobedient artifact spirit. Of course, it was mainly because he didn't listen to her. Huan Shen's disobedience was also reflected in his unwillingness to recognize her as his master. As the previous Divine Master's sister, she had naturally become the new master of the Divine Realm after his death. Logically speaking, all of her brother's good things should have belonged to her after his death, but unfortunately, there were always one or two things that were different from the rest. They refused to be controlled by her or acknowledged her as their master, and Huan Shen was one of them. He was also the most difficult one to deal with. Huan Shen's space was a semi-open space. It was not only accessible to those who had acknowledged a master. Therefore, although Huan Shen currently had no master, they could still compete inside. This was also the setting of her good brother. However, although they could enter, the control of the inside still belonged to Huan Shen. As a Divine Lord, she could only use the outer part of the Huan Qin space. As for the real core, she had no way of controlling it. This was also the main reason why the subordinates she had sent into the special space couldn't find Huan Chun. As long as Huan Chun didn't want to see him, no one else would be able to see him. The woman's head ached at the thought of Huan Chun. Many years ago, Huan Chun had chosen to let her fall into a deep sleep in order to resist her authority. She was well aware of this. After all, once Huan Chun fell asleep, she would not be able to cause trouble for him. She would not be able to force him to recognize her as his master. Now that Huan Chun had suddenly woken up and caused such a huge commotion, she did not believe that it was just because he had woken up. However, no matter what his purpose was or what plans he had, it was best not to touch her bottom line. Otherwise, no matter how reluctant she was, no matter how great the price, she would destroy the illusion dust. After the woman made up her mind, her beautiful eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Then, she also teleported away from the main hall. Within the dream dust space, the number of remaining participants was getting smaller and smaller. The number of people was still decreasing at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. Of course, the reason why they could leave so quickly was largely due to Lung Ruoxue and the others. Seeing that the number of people in Lung Ruoxue's group was getting smaller and smaller, they let loose and prepared to fight with their opponents. However, some of the participants who had been at a disadvantage against them, upon seeing their aggressive appearance, immediately hid far away in fear. They were afraid that they would immediately find them. When Lung Ruoxue and the rest saw this, they did not bother with those cowards. Instead, they went to find their opponents. In any case, most of these people were still going to leave this place. Fonda and the others were looking for their own opponents with great pride. As a result, Lung Ruoxue was left alone. When some people saw that she was alone, they instantly locked their gazes on her and treated her as their opponent. After all, in terms of ability, Lung Ruoxue was only a god-tier master and rarely fought. Hence, many people thought that Lung Ruoxue was very weak and that they should pick the soft persimmons to pinch. Hence, Lung Ruoxue was targeted by many people in an instant. Most of these people had their eyes on her because she looked weak. Of course, a small number of them wanted to take revenge. After all, many families had been humiliated by Fonda and the others just now. If they could take care of this woman who seemed to be very important to them, they should at least be able to regain some face. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue's gender was automatically ignored by them. Looking at the dozens of people surrounding her, Lung Ruoxue's face revealed a hint of disdain. She then mocked, "So many of you ganging up on a woman. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others? We're just making use of the rules. We didn't break the rules. However, if you're afraid, you can just kowtow to us and admit defeat. We'll let you live on account that you're a woman. Otherwise, don't blame us for ruthlessly destroying a flower." Someone laughed in a perverted manner. His perverted eyes were still darting around Lung Ruoxue's body. "I won't blame you. Come at me together." Lung Ruoxue laughed nonchalantly. Then, in an instant, she made her move. A flash of red lightning struck towards the man who had just spoken. The target was naturally his face. With a bang, the man's face exploded and blood gushed out. His perverted eyes were even more bloody from the explosion, and nothing could be seen clearly. "Arg! My face! My eyes!" The man, who had reacted half a beat slower, was dumbfounded by Lung Ruoxue's lightning-like speed. By the time he could react, he was already injured. Immediately after, a white light teleported him out. When Lung Ruoxue saw the man leave, she felt extremely regretful. Actually, she should have been more ruthless. What happened just now was just a small punishment for him. However, he did not expect that he would be teleported out. She couldn't help but feel depressed. Then, she turned her beautiful eyes to the others. Since that man had escaped, she could not let these people go. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue pointed the long sword in her hand at the people surrounding her and infused her fire attribute divine power into it. Then, with a light turn of her wrist, Thousands upon thousands of meteors that were shimmering with red flames shot out. The meteor shower wasn't big, it was like a small fire spark. Although there were many of them, the people surrounding Lung Roashua didn't pay much attention to them and only dodged them slightly. However, when the small fire sparks touched their bodies, they could feel the excruciating pain. The moment the small fire sparks touched their bodies, they immediately burst into flames. In an instant, everyone was in a hurry to put out the fire. There were also some who couldn't bear the pain that penetrated deep into their souls and fainted. What they didn't know was that this was the result of Lung Roashua showing mercy. Otherwise, if Lung Roashua had directly used her own natal flames, these people would have been burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. Lung Roashua naturally didn't want this cat and mouse game to end too quickly, so she had deliberately shown mercy. Chapter 1908. 100 People Reward 1. And the reason she went easy on him was definitely not because she was kind. Lung Roashua looked on coldly from the side. She didn't continue to kill the people who were trying to put out the fire in a fluster. However, after those people put out the fire, they turned their angry and hateful gazes towards her. Lung Roashua was surprised by this. It seemed that these people hadn't learned their lesson. That's just right, in case they're afraid and don't come and find trouble with me. They'll definitely be depressed then. That damned woman. He's really too detestable. Someone shouted. He wouldn't shed tears until he saw the coffin. Don't let this evil woman off. Someone immediately agreed. Then you two can continue to be together. Lung Roashua smiled. Oomph. Detestable woman. Well, let you know our power now. Someone boasted shamelessly. Clearly, he had already forgotten about his embarrassing state earlier and attributed it to his own carelessness. However, no matter what they were thinking in their hearts, Lung Roashua had thoroughly angered them. So, in order to protect their face and dignity, they knew that they must not let Lung Roashua off. In an instant, the situation changed. The wretched-looking men surrounding Lung Roashua all attacked her at the same time. Furthermore, some of them used their killer moves as soon as they attacked. It was obvious that they did not want to give Lung Roashua any chance to catch her breath. Although it was a pity to kill such a beauty, face was more important than women. Otherwise, how could they survive in the divine realm in the future? Lung Roashua's beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at the various types of godly powers that were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws at her. She calmly set up a water wall in front of her. At the same time, tens of thousands of fiery red meteors were shot out from her sword and flew towards the opponents who were surrounding her. Oomph. Do you think that this little flame can hurt us? Someone had forgotten his embarrassment just now and said with a mocking face. After saying that, the others also laughed. However, the next second, tragedy struck them. This was because the meteor shower this time was clearly slightly different from the previous one. In this meteor shower, Lung Roashua had added some of her natal flames. In Lung Roashua's words, she had played enough. These clowns were not worth her time. As for those who had weaker physiques, the moment the small sparks touched their bodies, they were immediately turned into ashes. As for the divine skills that they had used to attack Lung Roashua, they were also reflected back by Lung Roashua's wall of water and turned around to attack them. Then, terrified screams rang out one after another in the sky above the square. However, the people who were in the middle of the chaotic battle did not pay much attention to this side. Therefore, few people noticed how those people had died. After taking care of these people, Lung Roashua realized that she had nothing else to do. This was because many of them were currently fighting with their opponents, and no one actually had the time to deal with her. Miss Lung, I want to challenge you. At this moment, a gentle female voice rang out from behind Lung Roashua. However, before she could turn her head, she saw a beam of light shooting towards her. Seeing this, Lung Roashua quickly dodged, and the beam of light brushed past her. Looking at the woman who had sneaked an attack on her, Lung Roashua squinted her beautiful eyes and said indifferently, "It's Miss G." She had thought that this woman had gone missing in an accident. Lung Roashua did not expect him to be here. She was a little disappointed. "Yes, I want to challenge you. Jimin boasted shamelessly. She clearly didn't take the sneak attack to heart. Miss Ji, don't tell me you don't know about the agreement between me and Ji-Yun? Or is it that Ji-Yun can't represent the Ji clan? Lung Ruoxue glanced at Ji-Min with a half-smile and said in an extremely cold tone, Hee hee. Of course, my brother can represent the Ji family, but the agreement between you two can be ended because there aren't many people here. Ji-Min said disapprovingly. Since she dared to challenge Lung Ruoxue, she had naturally thought of an excuse. She wouldn't let anyone find any evidence against her. Otherwise, how could she be fit to be the eldest miss of the Ji family? Ji-Min thought to herself, full of confidence. Not many people left. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes looked at the crowd in the square in disbelief. There weren't many people left, at most a few thousand. Moreover, their numbers were rapidly decreasing. However, there was still a certain gap between them and not many people. If they were to fight now, it would definitely be a little far-fetched. However, since eldest Miss Ji had spoken, she naturally wouldn't let her down. Of course. Miss Lung, do you dare to accept my challenge? Ji-Min said proudly. What's there to be afraid of? Lung Ruoxue laughed lightly. She didn't want to be treated like a soft persimmon. Since Miss Lung has agreed, then let's have a battle to the death. Ji-Min said fiercely. A battle to the death. Lung Ruoxue furrowed her brows. Was this Ji-Min trying to kill her? He actually wanted to fight her to the death? What? Is Miss Lung afraid? Ji-Min provoked. I'm not afraid. What's there to be afraid of? However, I want to make sure that Miss Ji really wants to fight to the death and not just stop at a certain point. Lung Ruoxue asked with uncertainty. Of course, it's too boring to stop at a certain point. Which real battle isn't a life-and-death battle? Ji-Min said disapprovingly. Since Miss Ji has made up her mind, I will accompany you to the end. However, it's best for us to sign a pre-war contract before the war to avoid any unnecessary trouble in the future. Lung Ruoxue suggested. Miss Lung is really cautious. Don't worry, I won't blame you if anything happens to me. Ji-Min promised. Words are not proof. It's better to sign a contract. After all, you are Ji-Yun's older sister, and Ji-Yun is my friend. I don't want him to misunderstand me because of you. Lung Ruoxue had made it very clear that she wanted to sign the pre-war contract for the sake of Ji-Yun. All right then. Then let's make a contract so that I don't hurt you accidentally and brother you will blame me. Ji-Min said on purpose, wanting to anger Lung Ruoxue. However, Lung Ruoxue did not take her words to heart. Following that, the two of them made an oath according to the contract's rules and stated that the life and death contract they had signed would have nothing to do with the other party no matter what happened during the battle. The family, subordinates, and clansmen of the party who had an accident were not allowed to find trouble with the other party for any reason or excuse. Otherwise, they would be punished by the contract's rules. After the contract was formed, Lung Ruoxue specially requested for it to be materialized so that the two of them could each hold a copy. After that, the battle between the two of them officially began. Ji-Min made the first move, while Lung Ruoxue set up a thin water wall in front of her. Then, she watched the battle as a bystander. Of course, she was the other party in the battle, but it was obvious that she was very calm. Chapter 1909. 100 people reward, too. When Ji-Min saw how Lung Ruoxue was acting, her lungs were about to explode. Damn it, was she looking down on her? This was because Lung Ruoxue was only defending and did not attack at all. This fact had severely hurt her pride. This was really too much of a blow. He was also looking down on her performance. Lung Ruoxue, why aren't you doing anything? Ji-Min roared. Her beautiful face was so angry that it was somewhat deformed. I'm out. Lung Ruoxue pointed at the water wall in front of her. You're just defending, Ji-Min reminded. Isn't defending considered attacking? Lung Ruoxue was astonished as she asked without blinking her eyes. You? Ji-Min was furious. Although she really wanted to say that defense didn't count, she couldn't bring herself to say it. Furthermore, she also felt that Lung Ruoxue was intentionally going against her. She did not believe that Lung Ruoxue would not understand what she meant. However, in the blink of an eye, she was no longer entangled in this. That was because the light arrow that she had released had actually rebounded after colliding with Lung Ruoxue's water wall. It then pounced in front of Lung Ruoxue at an extremely fast speed. At that moment, she was quick-witted and quickly dodged. However, the light arrow had still pierced through her shoulder. In an instant, fresh blood spurted out from the hole in her shoulder. Ah! Ji-min cried out in pain. She quickly took out a healing pill and ate it. Although the bleeding stopped immediately, her shoulder still ached. Ji-min, whose pain had been slightly relieved, glared at Lung Ruoxue. However, she was still a loss for words. She realized that she actually didn't know what to say, because she was injured by her own light arrow. Even though she wanted to blame Lung Ruoxue, she couldn't find a suitable excuse. This made her even more depressed. Just like that, the two of them stared at each other. Ji-min didn't speak, and Lung Ruoxue didn't speak either. Ji-min didn't attack, and Lung Ruoxue just looked at her indifferently. She didn't attack either. After a long time, Ji-min was going crazy. This person is really too detestable. Ji-min was so angry that she wanted to scratch the wall. Who did this? She was already injured. Yet Lung Ruoxue did not take the chance to attack. Since Lung Ruoxue did not attack, she naturally did not dare to attack either. The main reason was that she was a little afraid of Lung Ruoxue's wall of water, even though she was not too sure if the wall of water's reflection was intentional or not. But with the wall of water's ability to reflect damage, she had no choice but to be careful. The best way was to let Lung Ruoxue make the first move. However, Lung Ruoxue was obviously calmer than her. Seeing that Ji-min only glared at her fiercely, Lung Ruoxue was neither angry nor annoyed. Instead, she took out a reclining chair, a small table, and a few plates of fruit from her bracelet. She placed them in front of her and lay down on the chair leisurely. As she ate the fruit, she looked at Ji-min indifferently. Seeing this, the anger in Ji-min's heart rose uncontrollably. This damned woman. She clearly wanted to anger her to death. He was really too hateful. She had fought countless opponents in her life, but she had never seen such a detestable opponent, who would lie down and eat while fighting. Wasn't he deliberately trying to anger others to death? Ji-min's anger rose, and her beautiful face was like a color palette, constantly changing colors. However, Lung Ruoxue remained the same. Lung Ruoxue were in the middle of a competition. Ji-min suppressed her anger and tried to calm herself down. I know. I'm just waiting for you to make your move. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. I was the one who attacked first just now. Now it's your turn. Ji-min warned. Her vicious, beautiful eyes glared at the water wall in front of Lung Ruoxue. With that thing around, she didn't dare to act rashly. Miss Ji, didn't you see that my water wall has always been there? Lung Ruoxue laughed, implying that it was Ji-min's turn to attack. However, Ji-min had learned her lesson last time and didn't dare to make a move. Therefore, the two of them continued to be in a stalemate. After a long while, Ji-min took a deep breath and continued. Lung Ruoxue, there's no point in us continuing this stalemate. Why don't we add some stakes to our battle? A wager? What do you want to add? Lung Ruoxue raised her brows and asked indifferently. If I win, you must leave Brother Yi, and you're never allowed to appear in front of him ever again, Ji-min said with an evil smile. Even though that was what she really thought in her heart, the main reason she said that was to infuriate Lung Ruoxue. What if you lose? Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and asked calmly. If I lose, I naturally want to appear in front of Brother Yi again, and I won't disturb you. Ji-min said somewhat self-righteously. Do you think this is fair to us? Lung Ruoxue laughed coldly after hearing Ji-min's words. What's wrong? Do you have an opinion? Ji-min pretended to be puzzled, but she couldn't help but cheer in her heart. Be angry. You're nothing to us. It doesn't matter if you appear before us or not. Don't you understand? Do you think you'll agree to use this as a wager? Or is it that in your heart, I'm really that stupid? Lung Ruoxue could not help but laugh. She really did not know what Ji-min was thinking. She had never heard of such a prize before. Ew. Ji-min was furious. Even though Lung Ruoxu's words were the truth, it had greatly hurt her self-esteem. What surprised her even more was that she didn't expect Lung Ruoxue to say it out so directly. She was clearly not giving her any face. However, she did not think about why Lung Ruoxue would give her face. Since she had already said so, if Lung Ruoxue agreed, what would Lung Ruoxue be? Oh, what? I won't agree to such a prize. If you want me to do as you say, then take out a prize of equal value. Otherwise, there's no room for discussion. Lung Ruoxue said emotionlessly. A prize of equal value. Where was she supposed to find it? Ji-min was extremely depressed. Moreover, even if she could find it, this woman would probably not be satisfied. After all, if it was her, she would not be willing to leave her fiancé if someone wanted her to. As the saying goes, don't give what you don't want to others. However, Ji-min wanted to make things difficult for him. Since you don't agree with my suggestion, let's change it. Ji-min's eyes rolled, and she smiled. Oh, tell me about it. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. If you lose, I won't ask you to leave Brother Yi, but you have to allow me to stay with Brother Yi. How about it? Ji-min requested. Are you so sure that I will lose and you will win? Lung Ruoxue laughed. Right now, she really wanted to pry open Ji-min's brain to see what was inside. How did she come up with such a weird idea? Chapter 1910, 100-Person Reward 3. Of course, Ji-min was very confident in this. She knew her own talent. Miss Ji, it's good to be confident, but overconfidence makes you a little arrogant. I'm sorry, but I can't agree to your proposal. Glancing at Ji-min, Lung Ruoxue stated her decision calmly. What, are you scared? Ji-min provoked. I'm not afraid. I just won't use my man as a bet. Besides, even if I really agree to your request and you win, you can't stay by his side, because he will kill you without hesitation. Lung Ruoxue said. This is impossible. Ji-min didn't believe it. Miss Ji, that's all I have to say. Believe it or not. However, what I want to tell you is that when you look at a man, don't just stare at his face. There are some men that you can't provoke. Lung Ruoxue reminded him softly. After she finished speaking, she did not say anything else. You're afraid, aren't you? I'm afraid it'll take Brother Yi away. Ji-min refused to admit defeat and said. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue did not even look at her. Instead, she took the treasure out of the bracelet and hugged it in her arms. Lung Ruoxue, we're in the middle of a competition. When Ji-min saw Lung Ruoxue take out another small fox, she was even angrier. Damn it, he didn't even take a look at what time it was, and still had the mood to tease his pet. What's wrong with the competition? Hasn't my adorable master been waiting for you to make a move? Ugly woman, hurry up and don't waste my lovely master's precious time. Before Lung Ruoxue could speak, the baby spoke first. However, the moment it opened its mouth, Ji-min was infuriated. Ugly woman? Was he talking about her? Ji-min was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Fuck, he actually dared to call her ugly? Which part of her was ugly? She was also a famous beauty in the immortal realm, but now she was being called ugly by a little fox. How could she accept this? Ji-min, who was filled with anger and hatred, was obviously muddled by the words, ugly woman. Without thinking, she directly released dozens of light arrows to attack the treasure. As for the treasure, it only widened its curious silver eyes and stared unblinkingly at the dozens of dazzling light arrows. Then, the treasure watched as the light arrows hit the water wall in front of it and bounced back. Then, the treasure smiled. Looking at the counterattack of more than 10 light arrows, Ji-min was momentarily stunned, but fortunately, she quickly reacted and completely sobered up. Damn it, she had actually been angered by this detestable fox. One had to know that the light arrow she had just released was not the least bit watered. What she wanted was to kill that damn fox. Now that the light arrow had changed direction and was coming towards her, what should she do? Looking at the dozen or so light arrows in close proximity, Ji-min trembled a little. When the light arrows were right in front of her, she suddenly realized that she should dodge. However, it was too late to hide now. Following that, a puff sound was heard. Puffed. Dozens of light arrows simultaneously pierced through her body, leaving dozens of bloody holes. In the blink of an eye, blood stained her clothes, and she fell to the ground. But her angry, beautiful eyes were still full of unwillingness. She never thought that she would be injured by her own light arrow technique. This fact struck her hard. Then, she felt a breath stuck in her chest and fainted from anger. Looking at the unconscious Ji-min, Baby's eyes widened, and he said with a puzzled face, "Cute master, she is dead?" "No, I didn't He just fainted," Lung Roashua said with a tinge of regret. She really hoped that this scourge would die immediately. Unfortunately, he was still alive. "Ai, how could this be?" Baby sighed softly, his tone full of regret. "Cute master, should we help her?" Baby made a cracking gesture and said in a low voice, "Forget it. She is Ji Yun's older sister, after all." Lung Roashua said indifferently. She didn't even have Ji Min with her. Furthermore, this woman was injured quite badly. She probably wouldn't be able to cause any more trouble for the time being. Since that was the case, why should she be the evil person? Master is so kind, Baby said with a face full of admiration. Hearing this, Lung Roakshu's forehead was filled with black lines. She was kind? Why didn't she think so? To Lung Roashua, Ji Min's matter was just an insignificant interlude. After Ji Min was sent out by the white light, she turned her attention to the others. There were only 100 people left in the dream dust space, but there was still a gap between them and the 100 people required by the mechanical voice. Therefore, the battle continued, but the strength of those who remained was obviously not just a little higher. Basically, among the remaining people, with the exception of a few god-tier masters, most of them had the cultivation base of a divine lord or above. As such, the god-tier masters naturally became the targets of these people. However, the god-tier masters who were able to stay here weren't pushovers. Once a god-tier master was attacked, his or her family members would swarm over. Therefore, those who thought that they could get away with it didn't gain any advantage. In fact, they were even eliminated. As time slowly passed, the number of people in the dream dust space was finally controlled to 100. After seeing the numbers on the screen, everyone stopped fighting in unison. Among those who remained, other than Lung Roashua and the others, the 7 god domains and the various top clans only took up a portion of spots. Little sister Roashua, all of you are the most complete. Congratulations. Yuchen walked to Lung Roakshu's side and said with a faint smile. He was truly happy for Lung Roashua. If he could, he also did not wish for his opponent to be Lung Roashua. Brother Yu family is also not bad. Lung Roashua glanced at the people behind Yushu. The Yu family had actually left 8 people behind. This was quite a high percentage among 100 people. Yu Chen smiled, but he wasn't too complacent. It was obvious that he had already received many unfriendly gazes, so he wanted to keep a low profile. At this moment, the mechanical voice finally sounded again. "Haha, everyone, congratulations on being able to stay." There was no emotion in the tone of the mechanical voice. "How are we going to compete next?" Someone asked impatiently. "Hee, you don't have to compete anymore," the mechanical voice said. "What?" Upon hearing this, the 100 people present were all stunned. What did this mean? How can we determine the winner if we don't compete? Originally, I was hoping that you could determine the winner and give the final winner a special prize, but I've changed my mind. It's already very rare for you to stand out from so many people, so I've decided to give each of you a special award. You'll all be the final winners, the mechanical voice said with a slightly excited smile. When the crowd heard this, they didn't know if they should be happy or worried. Moreover, they had never heard of a competition where 100 people won. Could this be a team competition? Moreover, in this case, it was hard to determine which family would be the biggest winner in this elite gathering. Thinking of this, many participants from families were in a dilemma. They came to the elite competition to win honor for their families. However, if the supreme honor was obtained by so many families, then the honor was too exaggerated, right? There could only be one champion, so they were not willing to share it with anyone. Many people couldn't help but think. Although this was what many people were thinking, none of them dared to stand out. Otherwise, if the mechanical voice got angry and killed them, who would they cry to? With this thought in mind, everyone fell silent. What's wrong? Are you guys unhappy? The mechanical voice was a little annoyed when it saw that everyone's reaction was not very strong. Everyone looked at each other, but no one spoke. Little girl, tell me, are you guys unhappy? Upon seeing this, the mechanical voice called out a name. The little girl he was referring to was obviously Lung Ruoxue. Seeing the mechanical voice call out the name, Lung Ruoxue smiled helplessly before saying, I'm not unhappy about anything, but I think the others will definitely be unhappy. They've come for the honor of their families, and they want to win the final victory and achieve success and fame, but you're clearly letting everyone eat a big pot of rice and get a share of the reward. No one will cherish it. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the mechanical voice fell into deep thought. Then he said, The special reward that I'm giving you has nothing to do with the final champion of the elite competition. This is because the reward is given to you by me, not by the Divine Master's estate. After you take my ultimate prize, you naturally have a chance to determine the winner and receive another big prize from the Divine Master's estate. In other words, the champion would have 2 rewards. It's just that you don't need to compete for my reward. The mechanical voice changed its tone, and everyone's faces immediately showed joy. Then, when can we start fighting again? Someone asked anxiously. 2 grand prizes. Who didn't want to get it? Don't worry. According to the previous rules, the final victor would only be determined after leaving the special space. So, you'll have to leave this place for the rest of the competition. The mechanical voice said. When the people present heard his words, many of them revealed anxious expressions. However, Lung Ruoxue was somewhat speechless towards this fickle fellow. Previously, this fellow had said that the competition this time would be different from the past and would be held here. Why did he change his mind now? Chapter 1911, Master Recognition 1. Even though Lung Ruoxue had no idea why the mechanical voice had changed its mind, she could sense that it bore no ill will towards them. It was just that the behavior of the mechanical voice before and after was too abnormal and contradictory. Lung Ruoxue was very suspicious, but she knew that she probably wouldn't be able to find out anything now. At this time, the mechanical voice spoke again. Now you can receive your reward. With that, countless lights flickered in the space. Then, an item appeared in the hands of each of the 100 participants. There were all sorts of items, such as rings, armors, and so on. The crowd looked at the items in their hands and were slightly surprised. Immediately after, they were ecstatic because these items were all divine artifacts. Although most of them were only high-grade divine artifacts, the divine artifacts in their hands could grow. This was not something that could be bought with money. For many families, having a divine artifact that could grow could be regarded as a family heirloom. Therefore, after knowing this fact, there was nothing else but ecstasy in their hearts. Many people were so excited that they could not even speak. Even the participants from the superpowers of the divine realm, such as the 7 great divine regions, were indescribable with joy after seeing this growth-type divine weapon. Lung Ruoxue received a transparent bracelet that looked like a crystal. The sparkling and translucent light purple flower-shaped bracelet on her wrist made her skin look even more sparkling and translucent like jade. It was so flawless that it made people gasp in admiration. After the blood contract, Lung Ruoxue sent her divine perception into the bracelet and realized that it seemed to be a spatial-type equipment. The space inside was extremely large and could be described as boundless. The surroundings were filled with a white glow. Other than a thick fog, it was basically impossible to see what was inside. However, this bracelet was not really important to her. After all, she already had the universal bracelet. However, who knew that, just as this thought surfaced in her mind, she would feel a voice of dissatisfaction coming from within her heart. Lung Ruoxue was shocked. Could it be that this bracelet had already developed its own consciousness? AI. Master is despising me. Just as Lung Ruoxu's thoughts settled, an unfamiliar man's voice sounded in her heart. Who is it? Lung Ruoxu couldn't help but ask. She wasn't too sure if it was the bracelet that had spoken. Didn't Master already guess it? In the spirit of your bracelet. The man sighed helplessly, as if he had been wronged. However, hidden in the thick fog, his face revealed a hint of slyness. Lung Ruoxu was so shocked that she didn't know what to say. Wasn't she a little too lucky? The reward he obtained actually had a weapon spirit. It should be known that a divine weapon that could produce a weapon spirit was priceless. I know that Master doesn't like me, the man said bitterly. It's not like that. Lung Ruoxu replied hurriedly. How could she be disgusted by a divine weapon that had produced a weapon spirit? She was just too surprised. Then Master likes me, the man continued, his voice seemingly revealing a trace of joy. Cold sweat began to form on Lung Ruoxu's forehead. Wasn't this weapon spirit's thinking a little too simple? Master, let me first introduce myself. I am Huanchun. The man took the initiative to introduce Lung Ruoxu, ignoring the strange feeling in her heart. Oh, wait a minute. What did you say your name was? Lung Ruoxu had just nodded her head, but she immediately felt that something was amiss and hurriedly asked. I'm called Dream Dust. Huanchun repeated with a faint smile. Dream Dust? Why do you have the same name as this space? Could it be a coincidence? Lung Ruoxu muttered to herself. It's not a coincidence. I'm the one who controls this space. Huanchun said seriously. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxu was speechless. Why did this fellow give her away as a reward? If she remembered correctly, this special space should belong to the Divine Master's residence, right? Then, could this be considered as snatching food from the Divine Master's residence? He wondered if the Divine Master would fly into a rage when he found out. Master, you don't have to worry. The reason I sent you here is to find a master for myself. As for the Divine Master's estate, they can't control me. Huanchun, who had read Lung Ruoxu's mind, quickly explained. You're not a divine artifact of the Divine Master's estate. Lung Ruoxu was confused. My previous master was the Divine Master. However, ever since the Master of Dream Dust fell, I no longer have a master. Huanchun suddenly said in a sad voice. My condolences. Lung Ruoxu didn't know how to console the weapon spirit. However, this weapon spirit was obviously a mature and opinionated weapon spirit. Otherwise, it wouldn't have created such a huge commotion just to find a master for itself. Also, those god tools that he had given out must be extraordinary items as well. The previous master has been dead for a long time, and I've already adapted to it. Huanchun said indifferently. Then he continued, Master, you don't know this, but the current Divine Master has always been eyeing me covetously. If she knew that I'd found a master, she would definitely be angry from embarrassment. Therefore, I had no choice but to let the final 100 winners all get the reward. Of course, this was more to deceive people's eyes and ears. In this way, Master's safety would be greatly improved. I hope Master can understand. Huanchun's tone was cautious as he was afraid that Lung Ruoxu would be angry. Understand. Lung Ruoxu said helplessly. What else could she say? However, this weapon spirit seemed to be very powerful. Why did you choose me as your master? Lung Ruoxu couldn't figure it out and asked again. One must know that many of the people present were more powerful than her. However, Huanchun didn't choose her and instead chose her. I like Master more, Huanchun said arrogantly. You're too casual with your choice of master. Lung Ruoxu was speechless. The weapon spirit's way of thinking was indeed different from the rest. Master, artifact spirits have always been straightforward, and if they don't like someone, they won't acknowledge them as master. However, there's naturally another reason why I chose a master, and that is that I have a deep relationship with master. Huanchun said with a mysterious expression. What relationship? Lung Ruoxu's curiosity was piqued when she heard this. Master, I can't tell you for now. They'll tell you everything after we leave the territory of the god, Lord's mansion. It's too dangerous here. The God Lord will know everything, so I can't take the risk. Huan Qin said with a serious expression. Then, does the Divine Master know that you have acknowledged me as your master? Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. She could not deal with the God Lord now. Furthermore, the God Lord would not let her off easily for snatching something from the God Lord's estate. Don't worry, Master. She won't know for now, but shall probably notice when I leave with you. We'll be out of the Divine Lord's estate's sphere of influence by then. She won't act rashly even if she hates us. Huan Qin analyzed. Chapter 1912. Master Recognition 2. Isn't the Divine Master the master of the Divine Realm? The entire Divine Realm is his. If he wants to deal with us, wouldn't it be as easy as turning his hand? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. Ha! The Master God is indeed the master of the Divine World, and the entire Divine World should be under his control. However, what if the Master God is not in a legitimate position? Huan Qin said with a mocking tone. You're not going to tell me that this Master God's position was stolen, are you? Lung Ruoxue asked in a reserved manner. It wasn't just stolen. It was simply taken by force. Huan Qin said in disdain, but he did not continue. Lung Ruoxue silently wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. She didn't expect there to be an inside story behind the Divine Master's position. However, she had always had a bad impression of this Divine Master, so she didn't think that Huan Qin's words were inappropriate. After all, she wasn't born and raised in the Divine World, so she didn't have much respect for the Divine Master. Master, you'd better be careful when dealing with our Divine Master, Huan Qin suddenly warned. Although he did not know what kind of grudge his new master had with the Divine Master, he knew very well that the Divine Master had once sent people here to kill him. However, he had trapped them all. Otherwise, his master would not have been able to live so leisurely in the special space. And Lung Ruoxue nodded and didn't say much. In reality, she knew why the Divine Master wanted her to help. Master, I suggest that you don't show off too much in this elite gathering. Otherwise, if the Divine Master has his eyes on you, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for us to leave this place. Huan Qin suggested. All right, Lung Ruoxue agreed. In reality, she didn't want to be in the limelight either. As the saying goes, even if the tree wants to be quiet, the wind won't stop. Anyone who was in the limelight would easily become the first bird to stand out, and that wasn't what she wanted. Master, then I'll send you out now, Huan Qin said. Following that, Lung Ruoxue saw a white light flash before her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, the 100 of them had already appeared in the competition grounds of the Divine Lord residence. When they saw them come out, the representatives of the various families and the people of the God Lord's estate finally let out a sigh of relief. Why are you the only ones who came out? Where are the others? The judge asked in surprise after seeing the 100 players. When Lung Ruoxue and the rest heard the judge's words, they were stunned. They thought to themselves, didn't those people come out? However, this thought only lasted for a moment, because they soon saw piles and piles of people stacked on top of each other on the stage. However, these people were either seriously injured or unconscious. When the judge saw this and looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others who were in a good state of mind, he understood. Then, the judge waved his hand, and the guards of the Divine Master's estate ran to the arena and carried the people down. After the arena was cleaned up, the judge smiled kindly at Lung Ruoxue and the rest. You are the final 100 victors. According to the rules of our competition, you will be redivided into groups for the competition. However, for you to be able to reach this rank, your clans will definitely be proud of you. As for the next competition, it will officially begin tomorrow. You can go back and have a good rest now. After hearing the judge's words, everyone nodded and returned to their respective family seats. The preliminaries that had lasted for nearly a month were officially over. Although the competition this time was slightly different from the past, and there were more accidents, it was still considered smooth overall. Therefore, the judge eagerly let them go back to rest as soon as they came out of the special space. However, the audience still gave some of them a rather enthusiastic look. Under this almost fanatical gaze, the person in question ran back to his residence as if he was running for his life. Before the next day's competition had even started, there was already news that some participants had fallen ill. After hearing this, the hearts of the people in the Divine Master's estate couldn't help but twitch. She had never heard of gods falling sick so easily. It was not just one or two of them who fell sick, but nearly a third of the people fell sick at the same time. Some of the more serious ones even fell into a coma. After the alchemists from the Alchemist Guild's headquarters went to see the sick competitors, they came to a conclusion that made the God Lord's estate extremely depressed. These people were really sick, and it was a mental illness caused by excessive fatigue and mental pressure. In addition, these illnesses could not be cured by taking 1 or 2 medicinal pills. They had to rest for a while. As for this time's elite competition, they were afraid that they would not have the chance to continue participating. After all, the elite competition could not possibly wait endlessly for these participants who did not know when they would recover from their illness. Lung Ruoxue and the others were among those who had fallen ill. With the diagnosis of the highly respected alchemist from the Alchemist Guild headquarters, Lung Ruoxue and the others stayed at their own residence with a peace of mind. The grand meeting of the elites naturally continued as scheduled. However, these people's illness was only a small interlude to the major families. When the final competition began, more people's attention was focused on the competition, and they were quickly forgotten. The competition in the Divine Master's residence was in full swing. The residence of Lung Ruoxue and the others was also bustling with noise and excitement. Those who looked sick to outsiders had gathered in the garden of Lung Ruoxue's residence. They were feasting and drinking without a care for their image. Ruoxue, quickly return my honey-roasted meat. I roasted it according to the method you mentioned. In the garden, Jian took out a piece of roasted meat that was still dripping with oil. With a face full of anticipation, he placed it in front of Lung Ruoxue as he tried to please her. Go away! Before Lung Ruoxue could even react, the evildoer beside her had already shooed her away with a dark expression. I didn't roast it for you, Jian said calmly. Although this evildoer was very fierce, he wasn't afraid of him. Furthermore, he believed that with Ruoxue around, this man would not go too far with him. No way, it's for my woman, the evildoer said in a possessive manner. The more he looked at Ji Yun, the more he disliked him. This damn fellow was actually learning from them. They were sick, and this fellow was sick as well. Moreover, if he was sick, so be it. She even came over to them. It really made them angry no matter how they looked at it. I will provide Ruoxue with food in the future, so you should get used to it as soon as possible. Ji Yun remained calm, but the demon was not. Adapt my ass? Who agreed to this? The demon squinted his eyes and said in a slightly displeased tone. Ji Yun didn't say anything. He only peeked at Lung Ruoxue with an aggrieved expression. This subtle hint of his reaction made the demon furious. Did you agree to it? The demon asked Lung Ruoxue directly. Upon hearing this, Ji Yun looked at Lung Ruoxue expectantly. His limpid eyes seemed to be filled with tears. It was as if he would immediately start a storm if Lung Ruoxue denied him. Chapter 1913, Master Recognition 3. Lung Ruoxue's head started to hurt when she saw their expressions. In the end, she hardened her heart and decided to value her lover over her friends. I didn't agree to his request, Lung Ruoxue whispered. After he finished speaking, the evildoer was pleased. On the other hand, Ji Yun's face darkened as tears welled up in his eyes. He bit his lower lip and stared at Lung Ruoxue with a bitter expression. Then, he turned around and ran away. AI. Looking at Ji Yun's back, Lung Ruoxue sighed helplessly. Don't worry about him, he's fine, the demon said. That guy was too similar to him in the past, so he didn't want such a person to appear in front of Shui all day long. However, he believed that with that guy's thick skin, he wouldn't be dismissed so easily. Sure enough, not long after the demon had this thought, everyone in the garden saw Ji Yun rushing back. Ruoxue, I forgot to give this to you. After Ji Yun finished speaking, he stuffed the honey-roasted meat into Lung Ruoxu's hands. Without giving her a chance to refuse, he turned around and ran away. Lung Ruoxu looked at the roasted meat in her hands, then at the demon's darkened face. She suddenly felt the roasted meat in her hands burning. What should she do? Just then, Fonda walked to her side. Lung Ruoxu stuffed the roasted meat into Feng Da's hands. When the demon saw this, he immediately broke into a smile. Miss, Fonda looked at the roasted meat in his hand and felt a little embarrassed. He had already eaten a lot and really couldn't eat anymore. Eat it. Otherwise, you'll have to undergo special training for a month. Lung Ruoxu threatened. Woo-woo, young miss is bullying me. Fonda wanted to cry, but had no tears. He could only bite the bullet and eat the unloved roast meat. After eating, he immediately ran out of the garden. For the next few days, Ji-Yun acted as if nothing had happened and reported to the school every day. The same thing happened almost every day. Ji-Yun's battle with the demon. Lung Ruoxu's emphasis on her lover over her friends. Naturally, Fonda and the rest suffered. After a certain day, Fonda and the others finally couldn't take it anymore. They trapped Ji-Yun in a corner, each of them looking at him with a serious expression. You? What do you want? I would rather die than submit. Ji-Yun clutched his clothes tightly as he looked at Fonda and the others' murderous gazes, his face filled with fear. What are you thinking? We just want to have a good talk with you. When Fonda heard Ji-Yun's words, he angrily patted Ji-Yun's head and growled. Oh, we're just talking. Why do you have to put on such a fierce look? I'm so scared. Ji-Yun was still a bit afraid. You've been eating too much roasted meat recently, so you're a little heaty, Fonda said with a smile. Then don't eat the meat I roast. Just eat more light food. Ji-Yun said in a slightly aggrieved tone. Of course, he knew that all the meat he had cooked had gone into the stomachs of these people. However, he would not be discouraged. Sooner or later, the food he made would be able to fill Ruoxu's stomach. He was very confident in this. You think we don't want to? Fonda said with a bitter face. Since you want to, then it's even easier. Ji-Yun said softly. After he finished speaking, he looked at Fonda and the others very carefully. I need your cooperation. Fonda said, you just need to roast less meat. Fonda was afraid that he didn't understand, so he added, you mean you want me to do something else? But I'm best at barbecuing meat. Ji-Yun was in a difficult position. Although he knew how to cook other dishes, he wasn't as good at it as he was at roasting meat. In that case, don't do anything, okay? Fonda discussed. Of course not. If I don't do anything, Ruoxu won't know how much I care about her. Ji-Yun shook his head without the slightest hesitation. To be honest, my young miss really doesn't need your concern. Commander Yi is a jealous person. If you care about her like this, won't we be the ones in trouble? Fonda was on the verge of tears. Why was this guy so stubborn? It was really a headache. I heard that any man who wants to stay by Ruoxu's side will have to be cut by a knife, right? Ji-Yun suddenly thought of this matter and tried to verify it. His pair of clear eyes would occasionally size up the important parts of the people in front of him, his face filled with curiosity. Fonda and the others were stunned when they heard this. Who said that? This was a rumor. However, since Ji-Yun had asked, someone must have told him something. Should they deny it or admit it? For a moment, Fonda and the others were in a dilemma. If they were to deny it, and Ji-Yun really stuck to their young lad's side, Commander Yi would definitely go crazy, and the unlucky ones would naturally be them. However, if they were to admit it, and this matter spread out, wouldn't they become the laughing stock of the divine realm? What should he do? How should he answer to have the best of both worlds? Seeing that Fonda and the others didn't respond for a long time, and their faces were faintly conflicted, Ji-Yun's heart kept sinking. Could this matter be true? Although he had always been skeptical about it, he could not tell whether it was true or not when he saw Fonda and the others' conflicted expressions. Just like that, everyone fell silent. After a long while, Fonda sighed and slowly said, AI, some things are really hard to say, so you'd better not ask too much. However, I want to remind you that you'd better not come to our place in the future. Otherwise, if the people of the God Lord's estate find out that we're pretending to be sick, we'll definitely suffer. This was the excuse he came up with after thinking about it for a long time. Oh, The competition is about to end. Our illnesses should be cured by now, right? Gia nodded and continued. As for Feng Da's words about him coming here less often, he ignored them. No, Miss said that we have to keep pretending until all the competitions in the elite competition are over. Feng Da said with a serious face. The competition of the elite competition was divided into 3 parts. The first part was the competition between the human families, followed by the competition between the special professions, and the last part was the competition between the representatives of the beast clans. However, because the competition between the beast clans was arranged later, not many beast clans had come yet. However, the competition between the human families would be over tomorrow, and before the alchemy and weapon refining competitions began, the representatives of the beast clans would probably arrive one after another. After all, the beasts were also very interested in pills and equipment. Doesn't that mean we won't have the chance to watch the pill refining and artifact refining competitions? Jian could not help but ask. And Feng nodded. The alchemy and artifact refining competitions are very important. There might be amazing alchemists and artifact refiners in the competition. Wouldn't it be a pity if we don't go and watch? Ji Yun warned. What's there to pity? Feng didn't think much of it. His young lady was an alchemist and a blacksmith. No matter how monstrous those people were, how could they be better than his young lady? He didn't believe it. All the families will pay close attention to this. Ji Yun continued. Then we'll be fine. Feng remained unmoved. Hearing Feng Da's words, Ji Yun was speechless. He didn't know how to continue, and he felt even more depressed in his heart. Why were the people around Roashu so difficult to deal with? Seeing that Ji Yun was somewhat depressed, Feng patted Ji Yun's shoulder and said in a serious tone, Child, there are many women in the world. You should get over it. My family's young miss really isn't suitable for you. So, if you don't have important matters in the future, it's best if you don't come to us. Otherwise, if one day you anger Leader Yi, he might just directly kill you. When Ji Yun heard this, his face paled and his eyes became misty. However, he did not nod in agreement, nor did he refuse. He only turned and left in loneliness. Looking at Ji Yun's desolate back, Lin Yuan asked with uncertainty, Will he listen to our words? It's hard to say. Fonda wasn't sure either. Ji Yun's thoughts couldn't be judged by common sense. The next day, when he saw the happy Ji Yun again, he knew that all his words had been in vain. This guy was simply a repeat offender who did things his own way. However, the competition of the human families in the elite competition had finally ended officially. Some people were happy, while others were sad. The Yao family obtained the noble crown in this year's elite competition as they wished. The Ning family was ranked second with a slight advantage. As for the empty spot in the 8 divine domains, it was taken by the Yu family, who had the best result in this competition. The Yu family had also leaped from being a top family to a superpower in the divine realm. The Yu family's outstanding performance had caused many families to be envious, jealous, and hateful, with the Sun family being the most among them. After the competition ended, the Sun family would always make sarcastic remarks, but when these words reached the ears of the Yu family, they were automatically ignored by the Yu family. As a new noble in the 8 divine regions, the Yu family chose to befriend the Ning family first. This fact also angered the Yao family. After all, they were the final winners of this elite competition. Unfortunately, they were not as dazzling as the Ning family. This also made many of the Yao family members hold a grudge in their hearts. After meeting the Ning family, they naturally didn't have a good expression. After a few days of rest in the elite assembly, the Alchemy Master and Weapon Master competition officially began. Chapter 1914. Timely Assistance 1. The start of the Alchemist and Weapon Master competition had excited many families. After all, there were many participants from their families. However, to Lung Ruoxue and the rest, this competition was not essential. On the contrary, Lung Ruoxue was more interested in watching the magical beast competition. However, what did these people in front of her mean? In the garden, Lung Ruoxua looked helplessly at the few handsome men sitting opposite her: Lu Feng, Lu Yu, Shen Nuo, and the others. She did not know what to say. Wasn't today an important match between their two guilds? These few guys who held important positions in the guild actually had the leisure to come here and stare at her. Other than disbelief, Lung Ruoxua was still in disbelief. Wasn't the behavior of these few people too much of a joke? If the alchemists and artifact masters in the competition knew that their competition was so neglected, what would they think? After a long while, Lung Ruoxua finally couldn't hold it in anymore when she saw that the few of them were still not speaking. What are you guys here for? Don't tell me you're just here to look at me in the eye. Lung Ruoxua could not help but ask. We heard that you were sick, so we came here to show our concern. Lu Feng smiled faintly. He was as elegant as a noble young master, and no one could find any fault with him. However, it would be strange if Lung Ruoxua believed his words. Today's the competition for the weapon and pill refiners, right? Did you guys pick today to visit me? Lung Ruoxua raised her eyebrows. Hee, this is the only way we can escape. Otherwise, we won't be able to leave at all with those little guys pestering us all day. Lu Feng said with a smile. He was speaking the truth. By the way, is there anything good to eat? I've been hungry for a few days. Lu Feng then asked shamelessly. Although the others did not say anything, their eyes were the same. They all had the same hungry look in their eyes. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but wipe away the cold sweat on her forehead. She knew that these people were here for the food. AI, this group of foodies. Lung Ruoxua helplessly gave Fengde a look. Fengde understood and turned to leave. Not long after, Lin Yuan, and the others brought over a few plates of steaming roasted meat and placed them in front of Flowing Maple and the others. Lu Feng gulped as he looked at the plates of delicious-looking roast meat. Then, he started to eat without holding back. The others saw this and fought to be the first to eat. When Fengde saw how they ate, he laughed in his heart. Eat it. Eat more, there's still a lot more. If they ate it for him, he could eat less. As it turned out, the roast meat had been roasted by Ji Yun. They didn't know what had gotten into that fellow's head, but he had actually made such bold statements, saying that he would roast the meat to the extreme so that their young miss would not be able to live without it. As a result, he had been hiding in the kitchen every day, thinking of all sorts of ways to roast the meat. As a result, they had been very unlucky. They had already gotten tired of eating roast meat, but when their young miss had said, "Don't waste food," they could only bite the bullet and eat the roasted meat that they already hated. When Commander Yi saw that Ji Yun had temporarily placed all his attention on a roast meat and did not disturb Shui, he warned them that they must finish the meat that Ji Yun had roasted and not let it fall in front of Shui. He also warned them to think of a way to make it difficult for Ji Yun. Otherwise, they would bear the consequences. Under Yi Qin's abuse of power, Fengde and the others' days were even more difficult than before. However, it was all good now. With these gluttons, Lu Feng, he could help them digest some of the roasted meat. He was very pleased. The way they looked at Flowing Maple and the others also became gentler and more passionate. If he wasn't afraid of scaring them, he would have fed them personally in case they couldn't finish it and had to finish it in the end. However, his worries were unnecessary. Lu Feng and the others thought that the roasted meat was specially prepared for them by Lung Ruoxua and the others, so they would naturally give them face and finish it all. However, when they finished the meat in front of them and thought that there would be other dishes, Fengde and the others actually served a few more plates of meat. When Lu Feng and the others saw this, they were dumbfounded. That Fengde, don't you have any other food to serve us? Flowing Maple could not help but ask. No more. Fengde's answer was so matter-of-fact, and Lu Feng's mouth couldn't help but twitch when he heard it. What the hell is this? They didn't want to just eat barbecue. Eating too much of that thing will make you heaty. Some vegetables will do too. This roast meat is a little greasy. Flowing Maple lowered his request. Right now, even if he had some lettuce leaves, he would still be quite satisfied. No, I didn't eat. Fengde said. They hadn't eaten any food for a long time. As the saying went, we share good fortune and misfortune together, so Lu Feng and the others naturally didn't want to eat it. Feng Da's direct answer left Lu Feng and the rest at a loss for words. Could it be that Lung Ruoxue and the rest were so poor that they could not even eat vegetables? Oh, the vegetables in the divine realm were indeed more expensive than meat. If there are no vegetables, then there should be fruits, right? Give me some fruit. After a while, Lu Feng spoke again. He knew that Lung Ruoxue had quite a few good fruits in her hands. Also not. They've all been eaten. Feng De said without changing his expression. He did not feel guilty at all for his lies. Lu Feng was speechless. His mouth was half open, but he could not say a word. On the other hand, Lung Ruoxue was laughing in her heart when she heard the conversation between Feng De and Lu Feng. She knew that Feng De had done it on purpose, but she was happy to see it happen. After all, she knew that Feng De and the others had been wrong during this period of time. Unfortunately, she could not do anything about it. Looking at Lu Feng's reaction, Feng De also kept quiet with a wronged expression. Little girl, we're here to see you. You're not just going to treat us with roast meat, are you? After being stunned for a long time, Lu Feng spoke again. I didn't want to, but I only have roasted meat now. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. In order to avoid the barbecue, she had stayed in her room for a few days. If not for Lu Feng and the others, she would not have come out. Why don't I get you guys some grilled fish? Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. Grilled fish? Is that any different from roasting meat? Flowing Maple rolled his eyes. There is. Fish swam in the water, while meat ran on the ground. It's different. Lung Ruoxue explained with a smile. All right, they're different. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's explanation, Lu Feng and the others were completely speechless. At the same time, they understood that they would not be able to eat anything good at Lung Ruoxue's place today. Sob, they had decided to come again tomorrow. Thinking of this, Flowing Maple and the others exchanged a few glances before standing up and taking their leave. However, when they came to visit again the next day, the food they had was still roasted meat. Chapter 1915. Timely assistance, too. They didn't want to give up, so they came for a few more days. But every day, Feng De and the others treated them with barbecue, which made them gnash their teeth in hatred when they saw barbecue. After a few days, they put barbecue on their blacklist and decided not to eat barbecue again. The Alchemy Master and Weapon Masters competition was also nearing its end in a raging fire. In reality, the duration of the Alchemist and Armament Master competition was very short. From the preliminary round, the semi-final round to the final round, there was only a total of 6 days. However, for the first 5 days, Lung Ruoxue and the rest stayed at their own residence. On the final day, Lung Ruoxue brought Feng De and the rest to the audience seats. Ji Yin knew that they would be coming to watch the battle today, so he had followed the Ji clansmen to the competition grounds early on. When he saw Lung Ruoxue, he was so excited that he abandoned his clansmen and ran over to Lung Ruoxue's side. The elder leading the Ji family's team could only sigh helplessly. However, the master of the Ji family was happy to see this. Ji Yin was his favorite grandson. He was naturally happy that Ji Yin had a few good friends. Furthermore, he could tell that Lung Ruoxue and the others were not ordinary people. If Ji Yin could become friends with them before they became famous, it would be a great advantage for Ji Yin to inherit the Ji clan in the future. Unfortunately, some people in the Ji family didn't think so. Following closely behind Ji Yin, a young man was also walking towards Lung Ruoxue and the rest. When he saw Lung Ruoxue and the rest, the young man immediately scowled and reprimanded. Young master, this woman has caused our Ji family's eldest miss to suffer a fate worse than death. How can you ask a tiger for its skin without distinguishing right from wrong? How can you face the young miss who loves you so much like this? She's your sister. You shut up. The old ancestor said that injuries are inevitable in the competition and told us not to be calculative. You actually dare to disobey the old ancestor's words? When Ji Yin heard the young man's words, he was so angry that he wanted to stuff a stinky sock into his mouth. Damn it! Why is there always such a self-righteous person? Even though he had not spent much time with Lung Ruoxue, he knew very well that she would not hurt her sister for no reason. He also knew what Ji Min Bao was up to. Hence, he naturally did not wish for his clansmen to misunderstand Lung Ruoxue. However, he had obviously underestimated the lofty position Ji Min held in the hearts of this group of young men in the Ji family. Ji Min was a godlike figure in their hearts, but now she was seriously injured. Therefore, these brainless fans naturally had to stand up for their idol. Don't care? Young Miss is so injured. How can we not be calculative? The young man said with a face full of grief and indignation. The current Ji Min was like a vegetable, half paralyzed on the bed. Their hearts ached when they saw her. One had to know that Ji Min used to be so high-spirited, but now she had become like this. How could they not be heartbroken? Then what do you want to do? After hearing the young man's words, Lung Ruoxue did not give Ji Yun a chance to speak and only asked indifferently. Ruoxue, don't listen to his nonsense. Our Ji clan has already come to a conclusion on this matter, so there's no need to pay attention to him, Ji Yun hurriedly said. You don't have to say anything. I want to hear what he has to say. Lung Ruoxue waved her hand, stopping Ji Yun from continuing. Seeing this, Ji Yun could only shut his mouth. Oomph. You hurt our family's young miss to that extent. You must pay for it with your life. The young man said fiercely. Pay with my life? She didn't die, did she? What right do you have to make me pay for her life? Lung Ruoxue laughed coldly and thought to herself, this guy really has the guts to say that. It looked like he really had nothing to fear. I really don't know who gave him the guts. Just because she's the young miss of the Ji family. You hurt her, so you have to be prepared to die. The young man boasted shamelessly. Is that so? Lung Ruoxue smiled and continued. If you don't know how Ji Min got injured, I can forgive your rudeness. If you know, then don't think I'll let you go. Oomph. What a big tone. I don't believe you can do anything to me. The young man clearly didn't believe Lung Ruoxue's words. After all, their Ji family had a certain status in the firmament and wasn't some nameless and insignificant family. You could try. Lung Ruoxue smiled nonchalantly. Then, her beautiful eyes turned towards Ji Yun. Ji Yun, have you investigated Ji Min's injuries? It's clear. Ji Yun nodded. In front of Lung Ruoxue, he could not say anything that went against his heart. Do they know? Lung Ruoxue pointed at the young man in front of her. I know. Ji Yun nodded. If you didn't know, Ji Min's fans would have already made a fuss. If that's the case, then don't blame me for not showing mercy. Lung Ruoxue said emotionlessly. She knew the truth, yet she still came to make a scene in front of her. This kind of person could not be forgiven. Otherwise, she would make others think that she was easy to bully. Following that, Lung Ruoxue gave Feng De a look. Feng De understood and immediately grabbed the young man's collar and carried him out of the competition ground like he was carrying a little chick. In an instant, the competition ground was filled with the young man's cries of surprise. What are you guys doing? Quickly release me. Otherwise, the Ji family will never let you off. The sound went from near to far, quickly disappearing from everyone's ears. The crowd watched the show and observed the Ji family's reaction. However, seeing that the Ji family didn't make any moves because of this small matter, many people's mood to watch a good show slowly faded. In fact, the young members of the Ji family still had some reactions. At least, they were quite angry, but they were all suppressed by the head of the Ji family. With the control of the head of the Ji family, even if they had any thoughts, they didn't dare to express them easily. Otherwise, the head of the Ji family would not let them off. This little episode did not affect Lung Ruoxue's mood to watch the competition. After they found their seats, they focused on watching the competition. As for Ji Yun, because of the accident just now, he felt embarrassed in front of Lung Ruoxue and the others. However, seeing that no one had any intention of venting their anger on him, he gradually relaxed. Today's first event was the alchemist competition. There were a total of 5 alchemists participating in the final round. 3 of them belonged to the Alchemist Guild headquarters, and the other 2 came from 2 small, unknown clans. However, after this battle, the status of those two small clans would also rise, who asked their clans to produce an alchemy genius. Seeing Lung Ruoxu's focus on the competition, Lu Yu, who was sitting in front of her, turned around and asked, "Little girl Ruoxu, who do you think will be the champion of this elite gathering? Is this a test?" Lung Ruoxu retracted her gaze and asked with a faint smile. "Ha ha, I just want to hear your opinion," Lu Yu said with a smile. "I'm more optimistic about the one called Jungle." Lung Ruoxu laughed. Chapter 1916, Timely Assistance 3, Why? Lu Yu was a little surprised. Lin Lin was the one with the least experience in alchemy among the five, and his aptitude wasn't top-notch. To be honest, he was a little surprised that he could advance to the finals. After all, the alchemists who dared to participate in the competition all had a certain level of strength, and there wasn't much of a difference in their strength. His talent may not be the best, but he wins in hard work. As the saying goes, hard work makes up for it. That's why he's quite skilled in pill concoction. Because he knows what he's lacking, he can see his strengths and weaknesses. This is the so-called well-prepared. Lung Ruoxu gave a simple analysis. However, alchemy was a profession that burned money. Before becoming famous, it was not easy for an ordinary alchemist to refine good pills. After all, no one would be stupid enough to hand over their precious herbs to an unknown alchemist to refine pills. The loss would be immeasurable. And from the clothes of this alchemist named Lin Lin, his alchemy career had not been smooth sailing. His days were even more tight. The resources that could be provided for him were pitifully few. Otherwise, he would not be so sloppy. The medicinal pills that he refined were so ordinary that they could not be more ordinary. If Lung Ruoxu's guess was correct, Lin Jian was definitely trying to get a high score in the first two rounds. This way, he would have a higher chance of competing with the other four alchemists. The finals between alchemists and blacksmiths were divided into 3 rounds. The first 2 rounds tested ordinary pills and equipment. It wasn't difficult to gather the materials, but the simpler something was, the more it tested a person's basic skills. Therefore, if Lin Jun wanted to get a good result in the competition, he naturally had to show his full strength. As for the last round, it was the refinement of pills of his own choice. The so-called free choice of pills, in addition to the pill that one was best at, one also had to test the grade, quality, and so on. These are all important criteria for scoring. After all, although the profession of an alchemist was respected, the personal ability and connections of an alchemist were also very important. If an alchemist could not even support himself, then he could only be regarded as a failed alchemist. However, Lung Ruoxu was very curious. What kind of pill would be refined in the last round? Looking at the bright and beautiful clothes of the other 4, and the confident smiles on their faces, it was not difficult to see that they had good resources on hand. But the jungle. Ruoxu, your taste is indeed different. Even though Forrest made it to the finals, did you know? Many people were not optimistic about him, and even thought that he would stop at the top 5. It would be difficult for him to go any further. Although his foundation is not bad and his score in the first few rounds of pill refining is very high, his score in choosing his own pill is not very ideal. This also pulled down his ranking. Otherwise, with his foundation strength, he could definitely enter the top 3. Louis West said with a look of regret. Why? No good herbs? Lung Ruoxu guessed. To an alchemist, the quality of the medicinal ingredients would determine the grade and quality of the pill. This was especially so in such an important competition. If he could concoct a supreme grade pill that no one else could, then the champion would definitely be him. That's only one aspect. According to our guess, he probably hasn't refined any high-grade pills. After all, his family can only provide him with very few resources. They're just a small family in decline, and his aptitude isn't the best. Naturally, it's impossible for them to fully support him in alchemy. Louis West said indifferently. In fact, there was another fact that he didn't say. Lin Lin's family clan had not only sent one alchemist to participate in this competition, and the treatment of another alchemist was obviously better than his. It was obvious that he wasn't the alchemist that the family clan had nurtured with all their might. Unfortunately, The alchemist that the family had nurtured with all their might had very average results, while the unknown and ordinary-looking Lin Lin had amazed everyone with a single brilliant feat. I wonder if this is a big irony? The families in the forest must be regretting their decisions now. In fact, Liu had guessed correctly. The head of the Tsong family, who was where Lin In was, looked at Lin In, who was dressed shabbily on the stage, and was filled with regret. Although their family had sent Lin In to participate in the alchemist competition, they had not thought highly of Lin In at all. Naturally, they had not spent much effort to prepare any good medicinal herbs for him. After all, in their eyes, Lin In was only there to make up the numbers, and it was precisely because of this that the Tsong family had become famous. However, when he saw the strange looks from the other families, the master of the Tsong family felt his face burn. Unfortunately, it was too late to prepare the medicinal herbs for the forest. After all, time waited for no one. AI, the master of the Tsong family, sighed. He had a chance to get a better result, but he was satisfied to get 5th place. After all, the Tsong family had never achieved such a good result before. Because of the jungle, the Tsong family could finally hold their heads high. However, the jungle. He was a little conflicted when he thought about it. However, Lin Jian, who was focused on refining pills on the arena, had no time to understand the depressed mood of the Tsong family's head. The only thing he was thinking about was to try his best to complete the competition perfectly. The first 2 rounds of the alchemist competition quickly came to an end under everyone's anticipation. Lin Yin was ranked 2nd among the 5 alchemists with a 1-point difference. This result was already quite satisfying for Lin Yin and had exceeded his expectations. After all, the 3 alchemists of the Alchemist Guild headquarters were not to be underestimated. After the first 2 rounds of the competition, the 5 alchemists would be given time to rest. Therefore, the last round was scheduled for the afternoon. What followed after was the competition of the blacksmiths. The 5 participants of the blacksmith competition were of equal strength, and all of them belonged to the Blacksmiths Association, so there wasn't much suspense. Everyone's anticipation turned to the alchemist competition that would take place in the afternoon. After the first 2 rounds of the alchemist competition, Lung Ruoxue whispered a few words to Fengde. Fengde nodded and left his seat. Lui Wei and the others could not help but ask curiously, "Ruoxue, what did you ask Fengde to do?" "Ha ha ha. The secrets of heaven must not be divulged," Lung Ruoxue said with a mysterious look. Lui Wei and the others were helpless when Lung Ruoxue kept them in suspense. Time passed in the anticipation of the crowd. In the afternoon, the last round of the blacksmith competition was the first to take place. However, there wasn't much suspense in the blacksmith competition, so the spectators were a little dispirited. The final winner of the blacksmith competition was also within their expectations, so more people set their eyes on the alchemist competition that was about to take place. Because the 5 participants of the alchemist competition had similar results, no one could predict who would win the championship. However, they knew that whoever could refine a supreme grade pill that no one else could refine in the last round would win. "Ruoxue, are you still optimistic about the forest?" In the audience, Lui Wei asked with a smile. "Of course. I believe in my own judgment," Lung Ruoxue said with a confident smile. Then, she turned her beautiful eyes to the 5 alchemists who were making their preparations on the stage in the middle of the competition ground. At this time, the 5 alchemists were already seated in their respective positions and carefully checking their pill furnaces. Then, other than Lin Lin, the other 4 took out the medicinal ingredients they had prepared earlier from their storage rings, confidently waiting for the final round to begin. The last round of the competition was extremely important to the Alchemist Guild headquarters. Hence, Shenhua personally took on the role of the judge. When Shenhua saw that the other 4 had already prepared the medicinal ingredients, and among them were quite a few precious medicinal ingredients, but when he saw that there was nothing in front of the forest, his heart felt a little conflicted. In fact, he quite admired Lin Yan. This alchemist's aptitude was not very outstanding, but his understanding of alchemy and his care for medicinal herbs far exceeded other alchemists. The only pity was that their alchemist guild headquarters had discovered this talent too late. Otherwise, they would have accepted him into the alchemist guild headquarters earlier. With Lin Yun's diligence, he was bound to have a different kind of achievement. Perhaps he could have become an honorable master of alchemy by now. What a pity! Without good medicinal materials, it was naturally impossible to refine higher-grade medicinal pills, and it was difficult to make great progress in the achievement of Alchemy Master. Therefore, the Alchemy Master level of the jungle could only barely maintain the strength of an Alchemy Grandmaster. This was also because his basic skills were solid, and he could use ordinary medicinal materials to refine pills that were suitable for the level of an Alchemy Grandmaster. Otherwise, he would not even be able to reach the level of an Alchemy Grandmaster. AI. Shinua sighed softly, feeling extremely regretful in her heart. However, what made him even more conflicted was that Lin was actually unwilling to become the Alchemist Guild's exclusive alchemist, just because the guild had once rejected him. Although he did not understand the course of this matter, from this, he could see that Lin was an alchemist with a very strong sense of self-esteem. And for such a proud person, unless there was a true Bo Lu who appreciated him, otherwise it would be very difficult for him to survive in this world. Immediately after, Shinua's eyes widened. Not only him, but the judges and the other 4 alchemists on the stage also widened their eyes in unison, as if they had seen a ghost. What did they just see? They actually saw the jungle taking out medicinal herbs from the storage ring. In fact, this shouldn't have surprised them. Unfortunately, the medicinal herbs taken out from the jungle were better than the ones they had prepared. There were also a few more that they didn't even dare to think about. Look at that fire ginseng. Even though it's only a small piece, the spiritual energy is so dense that it's unbelievable. And the petals of the fire lotus were also as dazzling as fire, crystal clear like jade, beautiful beyond words. And you're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.